Oh, geez. Oh, geez.
People, you don't think I see you crying in your cars, but I do. Sometimes I can feel it at a red light, someone at my side trying to muddle through. See them wiping their eyes in their rear view, like black hole sun in the sky. Why the fuck won't you come when I need you? Well, this moment in time is as close as we'll be and as far as I'll meet you. Two windows in between us, new moon in the house of Venus. One stranger who sees you and reads your features knows that your alibi might be tight, but it's not quite leak-proof. So if you're sitting at the light and you're crying in your car, just know that I see you. And it's a 50-50 that I'm bloodshot, gun shy, once bitten, twice tried, ribs pride wide to the sky till I'm see-through.
That's you, in case you don't recognize yourself.
You don't think I see you struggling to breathe, but I do. I see you stumble in your everyday grief like I do. I try, but I do. I'm twice bitten too. My mind's split in two. My knuckles bright white from the 10 to the 2. And the song in my head is the theme for a fugue. A state of decay through the filter of corporate news, where they edit the grays and the blues. They whitewash the brown till they drown out the natural hues. And then it's just another fact to refuse, that the corporate ladder's for hanging the company noose. Consider it one of your perks, after all it's communal in use. So you can come and hang till your legs go limp and they're shaking you loose. Now you watch 5 co-workers opt for the alternate exit, neatly suspended above where you wolf down your food. And your company gets its incentives embellished by harping on wellness, suggesting you'd best take time for your mental health after your 14 hours are through. Like we gave you a bottle to piss in and fixed up a noose on the crossbeam. Christ, what more can we do? So if you struggle to breathe any moment that you aren't asleep, then remember, most of Americans fear for their savings, fear for their shelter, fear for their babies. You aren't the fringe of exception, but rather a perfect example of capital's rule. And you're far less alone than the ruling class tells you is true. You're far less alone than the ruling class tells you is true. I see you crying in your cars, but I do. Blue check, better hold your breath. I'll slap you out your Ray-Bans. Toe-to-toe, we'll do-si-do and dip until you faceplant. If you want statistics, I can spit 'em up like Rain Man. Now your argument has 0 arms and legs like Rayman. Now we're touring 2019 like it was Graceland. I dropped 50 pounds, I started dressing like a stagehand. Quarantine was born and I restored my former waistband. Now I make the trailers for our future in the wasteland. Back on my bullshit, back at my heaviest, here to grab the artifact and jam it in the edifice, force it in the orifice, absorb the sordid medicine. All the good cops are either dead or quickly jettisoned. No, I'm not a nihilist, and no, I'm not a pessimist. I'm just your average realist with a fetish for the precipice. Bend you over this abyss, I want to make you sweat a bit. I'll drop you once it registers, and know that you'll remember it. Daughters of the Revolution soon may lose their membership, maybe through a dissolution, maybe through dismemberment. I won't be the one to choose or execute the severance, but I stand in solidarity with every tool that severs it. Every crimson pool we made of every fascist fool who watched us sacrifice our schools to fund the final crowning jewel affixed in Lockheed Martin's diadem. What's another 20 dead? Our leaders never cried for them. They're laughing in the garden, drunk and pissing on the hyacinths. The royal jubilee to praise this fascist Biden monarchy is imminent, and it would not be possible without the constant slaughtering of innocents, overseas and here at home and anywhere we find a shred of innocence. We won't stand for peace, not in the global or the inner sense. We won't let a single nation live outside our prison fence. We'll provide the bullets that defaced an honest journalist and turn around to praise ourselves for fearlessly upholding the free press and their important service. But I'll make a bet that Anthony starts blinking awfully nervous when you ask him why Assange is being jailed without a purpose. For what may be the greatest, most courageous act of journalism carried out in earnest. All to be rewarded with a slow-mo execution stretching out across a decade till they commute his sentence half an hour after he goes in the furnace. Sometimes I think the world is only turning out of spite. It's like we died a long time ago, and we're so used to being burned that when we saw the light, we all assumed that it was here to burn us. And so we fled into the shelter of a flooded circus, led to higher ground by all the clowns who own the only raft that floats above the sewage. And yes, there's plenty room, but they insist we don't deserve it. They insist the system works. They know it isn't perfect, but say we can't let great become the enemy of good, or all these rolling waves of shit we call democracy and bled out every dime for won't be worth it. But I submit this joke of an American experiment has not been worth a fraction of a damn since we birthed it. I submit that all our contributions to the planet, when subtracting our destruction and the millions we've left dead and labeled damages, would leave us with a failing grade of worthless. My apologies to any blue checks who might be listening. I'm sure that made you clutch your pearls and $1,000 purses. Did I interrupt your fantasy of healthcare exclusivity replete with fleets of Tesla hearses? Or your daily round of golf claps to pacify our broken nurses? I know my spoken word is like the scalpel of a surgeon who is working on behalf of the insurgents, but I'm just here to open up your eyes so you can see the true reality and not your censored, tailored version. So you can get your copy of my brand new manifesto. I took all my calls for violence, made it danceable, and presto, called it Communism, Taylor's version. I called it Tales of the Great American High-Speed Rail Aversion. Called it How to Put a Bigot into Power, then collectively and feebly coerce him into acting like a decent person. This will be the most important vote you'll ever cast, because we have to wrestle power from the current ruling class and hand it over to the other team of smiling suited serpents. This will be the most important vote you'll ever cast. Now watch them toss it in the vat and see it melt into the surface. Perfect time for you to burn the bridge to self-forgiveness. Now's the chance. Take a stand. Stay your hand before you cast another vote for corporate interest. Another vote that chokes your hopes of owning your own home or opening a business. They love to say their hands were tied. The stars just weren't aligned for them to get their votes in line to see their promises delivered. But they killed it in an instant. Bills don't die by accident. They're all assassinated on behalf of the congressionally kismet. By some lobbyists who see themselves as agents of clandestine fate, not fences in a prison. Dealing in the stolen goods of sleeping slaves and trading on the futures of their children. Betting on a spread of daily dead where every grave's creating profit by the millions. For some fascists lurking in the wings and all of their affiliates. And every Etna demigod our senators conduct their darkest dealings with. It really gets impossible to document or fingerprint, cause it isn't just a pattern of corruption, it's the very fabric making up the structure of the system that we're living in. So dash your hopes and down a margarita goes. You box the shadows, take a little nap, and then you get back in and swing again. But if the margarita made you sick, you probably wouldn't take a drink again. So if you're voting either party, honey, think again. I recommend you steel your nerves and never serve an officer, a president, a despot, or a king again. And mark my words, the day will come where we will rise and sing again. And if voting makes you sick, well, no one's forcing you to drink again. I didn't have to wait for long. I never had to change a song. I just sing it like a raised alarm. Smile when you say I'm wrong. I can't even fade the song. Can't fake while you play the charms. And I don't know the page you're on, but this is where you say you're wrong. This is where you finally admit you weren't ignorant. You boldly voted Joe like an informed and blissful idiot. You chose to blur the parts of Biden you don't find the prettiest. Now you choose uplifting news and filter out the grittiest. But the truth is something coarse enough that even when it's hidden, it's apparent when you feel it on your fingertips. I know it's hard to deal with from a distance, and up close the truth is hideous. But there's just no getting rid of it. You've gotta let it enter it. Just worries at your skin in every moment, loud or intimate. But shake it off, for fuck's sakes. You don't have to celebrate or be so proud of progress by imaginary increments. You don't have to heap such constant praise on fucking villains, like they're stillborn promises or honestly just isolated incidents, and not the product of the principle of privilege. Not intentional eugenics just by any other synonym, covered up with desperate clusterfucks of rosy images, labeled plain by any other name except for what the fucking image is. So once you stare the page down enough, you'll spot the difference. That one is red and one is blue, and that's the only truth, because neither one delivers on that promise of deliverance. One is red and one is blue, and that's the only difference. And the rest are isolated and imaginary incidents. One is red, one is blue, and that's the only difference. I didn't have to wait for long. I never had to change a song. I just sing it like a raised alarm. Smile when you say I'm wrong. I can't even fade the song. Can't fake while you play the charms. And I don't know the page we're on, but this is where you say you're wrong. They won't let you go, set you free, or send you home. Wait, please say you know what you need is what you owed, and they won't let you go, set you free, send you home. I was close enough to smell the fire. Jesus took the wheel and then he kicked me off the ride. I was busy shouting at myself from in the crowd, about to throw down and drag myself outside. I had to give myself the business. When I show myself forgiveness, it goes right between the eyes. Was looking past my shoulder, never focused on the prize. I stalked myself through burning sand the better part of 40 nights. I found myself staring in the mirror, yelling, go into the light. Cause I was in the rear view, staring at the highway, horrified. I was in the road ahead, arms wide, ready to be mummified. Gonna be the fella yelling how he's sick of always betting on his life. I'll also be the guy that brought the dice. Half a dozen chambers and I keep an empty 5. Only needed one to break the ice.
Only needed one to clear my mind. Only needed one to stop time. Wait, please say you know what you need is what you owed, and that won't let you go. Set you free, send you home. I'll be the guy that brought the dice.
Who are these people?
Oh, who are these people? Wow. We got something different tonight, folks. Hi, everybody. Say hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Everybody.
Hi, everybody. That's
Hi,
right.
everybody.
Jesse. I'm waiting for Jesse to do it. Hi, everybody. All right.
Okay, wait. I wasn't sure if we were.
We're not. Yes. This is not American tradition, but this is the crossover episode, first ever.
Right?
We'll do it live. Fuck it.
And we're bringing Jess on too. So we've got the Jet family.
Jess.
It's so funny. It's like Family Feud. You know, we've got the Jet family. Dun, 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 dun.
At one point, like, I'll leave and you can ask her the questions and then I'll
Right.
come back and we'll answer them. Yeah.
Right, and then you're right.
Perfect.
We get the last
Little
5
match
seconds.
game.
Right, and then any answers we'll get, and then you'll have to answer it again if you match the thing. And my wife loves
After
that.
that, we'll play the pyramid game.
You could literally
and do just
show
all the 70s game shows.
you could literally show Family Feud for like an hour, and my wife would for a marathon. There's a whole Family Feud channel now, I think, on one of the things, and we can just leave it on all day, and she'll be fine.
Oh, God.
Mhm.
Yeah, terrible. So, for those who don't know, this is the host of American Tradition, Jesse Jet, and this is Jessica, his wife, Jesse and Jess. They are a duo, and they play, and they are married, of course, and they have a kid, and so they're going to be here to hang out, and we're at least going to do the first story and see how long it takes and how it goes, and holy crap. So this is fun. And I got, that guy, Reef. Reef is the co-host. I'm Indy. Reef is here too. So yeah, we do this every week, and then we're going to do boats after.
I love it.
We're still going to do boats afterwards. So this is going to be good. So we're going to get into first. I did a ton of deep dive on what happened with Hurricane Helene, and it's not good. Not good at all. Right. So we're going to first dig into that because Jesse and Jess also did some research, and they wanted to join to talk about it. And then I've got a couple other stories depending on how late we run on this one. So I have a feeling it's going to take a while. So let me get into this. Just
You can do it, baby.
yeah. I know. So let's go here. Before we get started, we have to ask, because we're a user-funded show over here. Value for value system. And shout out to AM Wake Up, Steve Poikinen. You know, I was going to talk, and we'll talk about more about censorship this week, but two big things happened. Amber over at Roar Media, of course, got her YouTube channel pulled. I mean, for her Facebook pulled for her campaign. She's running for like local office, and they pulled her Facebook. And then, of course, we saw Rachel Blevins got knocked off of YouTube today, which we're not really surprised about, but it's still bullshit and censorship, and fuck YouTube and fuck censorship. And hi, YouTube. Because we're on YouTube too.
Hey, you
And fuck you. Put Rachel's channel back, but we know you won't. Yeah, I'd love to troll YouTube while we're live with them. But all these amazing people did contribute this week, to INN, to the Jesse Laptop Fund, to the independent art from Zago Brothers. Amazing stuff happening there. And this week it was Anna and Dee and John and Charlie and Old Man Barker and Sean and James signed back up on Substack. Thank you so much, everyone. Really, like that's That's a huge week. We need many more weeks like that, and even more. So that was great. All right.
Yeah.
Holy crap! So I follow this lady on Substack, the Starr of Appalachia, and she's obviously lives
Coming
in
to a Substack newsletter near you.
Yeah. So she lives there, and she kind of published something the other day after like 4 days. You know, like they got hit. I think it was on the 30th or on the 29th, and she published this on the 3rd. So she says, a week ago, Tropical Storm Helene knocked out my power, cell service, internet, and water for 4 days. I spent those 4 days in blissful ignorance, reading books, cooking stews over a campfire, boiling creek water, and hanging out with family and neighbors. And meanwhile, my out-of-town family were all worried sick. They were seeing the dire news reports that I didn't have access to. And so it was only days after the storm, when my power internet were finally restored, that I was able to see how much worse many of my neighbors had it. And now that I've had a chance to get the lay of the land, here's my prognosis. This is serious, y'all. Helene is a Hellion. Now, Jesse and Jess, have you ever been like in a hurricane? I know you lived down in the Keys for a while, right? When you first met, and so like, what's your experience with hurricanes?
I was never in the Keys for anything super bad. We got hit by category 1 when I was there. I think it was a 2 just before landfall. But then I was in Panama City when Opal hit, which was a big one in the 90s. Were you in the Keys?
I was in the Keys right after Wilma. So in like, I don't remember what that was, 2005 or 6.
Okay.
And then right after we went to the Keys after Irma.
Oh yeah.
And that was a really bad one for them.
Yeah.
Huge storm surge. But there's not much to the Keys. So really any storm is a big storm for them with their storm surge, because they're so low, at such a low elevation. But they're nasty.
Yeah,
for sure.
How do they deal with that stuff? I mean, it's just brutal. Let me get back here.
I mean, when we went to visit, it was a couple months after the fact.
Yeah.
And there was debris all along the highways still. And we were trying to find our friend's house that we'd been to 100 times, and we couldn't recognize it because all the trees were either just gone or stripped and laid down. And already, while there's still debris everywhere, here's all these signs about development that's coming in, and all these little affordable housing and all these little trailer parks that got wiped out get replaced with fucking, condos that none of those people could ever afford to live in. That happened very, very quickly,
Right.
But yeah, that it doesn't take much in areas like that to do a lot of damage.
Oh, Catstro. I hear Catstro making an appearance. I guess he wanted to join too. So what she says here was that in my town of Marshall, North Carolina, there was record flooding.
Oh yeah.
Volunteer crews have been hard at work cleaning up the tiny downtown area all week. For this work, it's necessary to don full hazmat gear because the floodwaters contain toxic sludge from destroyed industrial plants upriver. Toxic sludge is dried and become toxic dust, which is eating through the volunteers' boots. Holy shit.
Christ.
Yeah. All right. So watch this one. So first of all, there's go ahead.
Marshall only has 874 people, their population. It's a tiny town. So
speaking of Marshall, I actually got the video for that from this TikTok, and I can't play the music, obviously, but you can see the damage surveyed, and it's a drone overhead footage, and it's just, the streets are covered in disgustingness. Buildings are trash.
That's a lot of damage.
Wait, you're going to use that an awful lot tonight, Reeve. I'll tell you right now, because I got a lot.
Probably shouldn't.
I know when you think about that all being like industrial waste.
I got a lot of damage.
Thinking it's just mud, but like fuck.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens when you get slow-moving storm dumping loads of water in the wash basins.
And
like,
man, if if all they're offering you right now is $750, what the hell do you think they're going to give you in 10 years when you got mesothelioma from cleaning up all this shit? You know?
Yeah. God, look at that. It's just pure mud everywhere. They literally have to just gut the insides of these stores because they were all the way up to the ceilings. I mean,
lucky.
What would the storm surges
Lucky
here
a lot
off
of
the
that
water?
brickwork is still fine.
Oof.
You know, but you're going to be talking about like complete remodels inside, most likely.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
for
sure. And talking about mold, you know, without the power and stuff, the mold there is just gotta be outrageous.
And they gotta spray all that
I mean,
stuff
you can
down.
get some stuff, get air blowers in to dry everything out, like, but it's still, I mean, that costs you money.
Yeah.
All this is money. You know?
Well, hopefully,
like the guy sitting at the top of the house, you know, top of the hill, who has the money to like throw around is going to be fine. You're going to see a ton of foreclosed homes in here that can't be fixed. That's going to get bought out. I'm sure BlackRock and Vanguard will come in and decide to, you know, buy out huge swaths of land. So,
right.
You know, this happens in just about every disaster, no matter what the cause.
So back to our slideshow here. This is the record flooding, and you could see in Marshall how high the water level went. Jesus.
6 foot of water.
Oh, no, that's like a good
more.
10 or 11 foot at least. I mean, because that's up to like the second floor.
Up to the second story. Yeah.
All right.
And here's all the debris, all the stuff that's in the water.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what sucks.
And then they're going to talk about Chimney Rock. She talks about Chimney Rock and Lake Lure, two high elevation sister towns, mainly focused on tourism, at least for now. Right? The villages, hillside houses, basically the whole community were washed into the lake. Now, Brook Hines actually did a whole thing about Chimney Rock and Lake Lure and how and what the demographic of the people who live there are. What she said here, Jesus, look at that. Western North Carolina's largest city, Asheville, was hit extremely hard. The sheer volume of floodwaters on the banks of the French Broad and Swananoa rivers, right, was imaginable.
Swananoa, yeah.
Right? The destruction is widespread, severe, and positively overwhelming. Just
nice that party barge lasted, though. You know?
Well, they float.
The party barge made it.
They know how to float. Right. So most of Asheville is still without power and water. Now, this was a few days ago. I still think a lot of that is still happening. The power is expected to be restored by tomorrow to many neighborhoods. We'll see. But municipal water and sewage system has been so severely damaged that no one is making any promises or declaring timelines for getting it fixed. Yeah. Welcome to America, where they don't fix shit. You know, many surrounding towns are in even worse shape. There are still residents of nearby towns and more remote areas who are stranded without food, water, or communications due to impassable roads. We're going to look at some of those in a minute. More people are being reached every day. From my little holler, I hear helicopters flying overhead a dozen times a day. It should be even more than that, but it's good to start. They're scanning the ground for SOS messages, signs of survivors, airdropping supplies. The tiny mountain communities cut off from the world. The official death counts of 150 for an entire region affected by the storm, and 64. Right?
More than that now, I think.
Right, confirmed by North Carolina. It's likely lower. Yeah, I saw at least 200.
Yep.
So they describe really what it's going to be like if you have to live through this. Here's your day-to-day. Our internet service has been restored in some areas, including my neighborhood. Right, power means clean water for people who are on a well, but for those whose water comes from municipal systems, there's still a boil warning. We don't have reliable cell reception, if at all. Although some people have had power internet restored to their homes, many of us are unable to make or receive phone calls. I mean, I've got a backup generator, but that's going to rely on gas delivery from the gas company. If the pipes are fucked up and they turn off the gas, guess what? My backup generator is useless. And that's probably people with the whole house generators are dealing with there. Stores are reopening in limited areas that have power restored, but they're almost universally cash only. You hear that, crypto people? Cash only. Most ATMs are either offline or out of cash, and many banks are still closed. in my local town, a local credit union branch has mounted a valiant effort to serve its members in this great time of uncertainty. Even though they're without internet, they somehow devise a system whereby a couple of tellers whose personal cell phones are operational use their phones to call a Raleigh branch where dedicated tellers enter account numbers into the computer system. Yeah, that's totally secure, to enable cash transactions at the local branch. Of course, this also means that members still have to wait upwards of 45 minutes to withdraw funds, and still, we're so thankful. Amazing. And amazing people that are doing this and taking the risk like this. There are long lines for gas as well, if you can find it. Many of the open grocery stores are limiting the number of people who can enter at once, so there are lines to buy groceries too, and stock is, of course, dwindling. The biggest food bank in the region, despite a strong effort to save its store of food, had its warehouse flooded. And that definitely impacts the availability of relief food. But other local charities, certain corporate supermarket chains, and spontaneously formed groups of neighbors are rising to the challenge. And I've got stuff about that too. But I did want to, kind of give this woman who survived and sat and dealt with this for days, kind of go through her story, and then we'll go through all the tweets and everything, because I put together a whole bunch of stuff here. Immediately in the days after the storm, I began to see inspiring stories of mountain people helping each other, of folks on horses and mules carrying supplies to the more remote communities that have been cut off by this storm. I saw something even on like one of the corporate news channels where they were talking about that. Of restaurants and food trucks hooking up generators and serving free food to the community, as you should, as Kit would say. Mm-hmm. Of friends running dangerous supply missions to Charlotte and back. Of neighbors building footbridges across ravines so people can get out to buy groceries. Yes, it's dire, but Appalachia has got this. It's going to be a very long recovery. There are still upwards of 400 road closures in western North Carolina alone. And I've got a map of those. Fortunately, the two major highways that were severely damaged have been partially repaired so we can get supplies in and evacuees out of the region. Sort of, but they didn't really fix I-40 or 25. I'll show you that. That's some of the road closures that we're dealing with here. All right, it's everywhere. It's like a labyrinth. You run into this, nope, closure. Got to go back. I
always put a chainsaw in the back of the truck coming back from hurricanes, just in case.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Interrupt me if you guys have anything to say. I go fast.
Dr. Nick in chat just chimed in that people have been waiting in line up to 4 hours to get in to get groceries.
Right? Yep, there we go.
Yeah, we don't. Jesse, we would never have a thing like bread lines here. That would never. How dare you?
What is this, communist China?
Bread lines? What?
Castro comes in. Did someone say bread lines?
What? No, actually, he heard communism because he somehow can hear through your earbuds.
Right? Oh, he can.
I'm sure he's got microscopic.
In my mind, Castro only responds to Cuban Spanish. That's in my head. That's unbelievable. Just fucking.
All right, is that better for you guys? Or if you want to,
the other way was
you
okay.
can actually pin it and make it bigger in Zoom. By the way.
Oh, I'm gonna pin it.
Yeah, we did. I still think the other one was better.
Do you?
By the way, a little bit, just for reading purposes for us. But whatever.
But she continues. I want to thank everyone who's prayed for my neighbors, everyone who's reached out with words of concern and encouragement, everyone who's offered financial help for our recovery efforts. The vast majority of commentary I've seen from people online has been full of love and support. And I've seen a lot of that too. And I've seen a lot of, why the hell are we giving money to fucking Israel and Ukraine right now when we need money to give to these people? Mm-hmm. Which is overwhelming what I've been hearing a lot of, and I agree with. However, there has also been some victim blaming, a bit too early if you ask me. I've seen some heartless and ridiculous comments about how Appalachians have no excuse to say we didn't know the storm would be this bad, and that we should have been better prepared. I want to address this mentality briefly here. And
Jesus.
she talks about how they're preppers and yeah. Go ahead, Jess.
Oh, I was just gonna say we love to point the finger at poor people. It's always poor people. So whoever the poorest person is, that's who's gonna get the most blame. In the
Yeah,
situation.
exactly.
How dare you people that don't have money in small towns of 800 people not just go hundreds of miles away and get a hotel? What's wrong?
Right.
Wasn't it more like fudge rounds? Wasn't there a song about fudge rounds I remember about a year or so ago that people lost their minds about for about 6 weeks?
Thankfully, I don't remember that until you brought it up. Thankfully.
Right.
You know.
My PTSD, my Oliver Anthony PTSD is kicking.
Right? But remember,
Jesse hears that and just is ready, you know?
Appalachian. Well, let's move on. Let's move on from that clown. But although he's from Appalachia, Appalachians in general are vastly more prepared for disaster than the average American, especially when they have 2 #1 hits back to back. But that's another story for another article.
Look, dude, he's still stuck at Burning Man, bro. Don't worry about it.
Yes, we're still waiting. We're still waiting for that Midwestern March interview. Come on. Well,
what? Huh?
Most mountain people are rural, competent, resilient as fuck, and fluent in the old ways. We can still garden. We still garden. Can not just can, but they do the can, and they actually do can and preserve and hunt and raise livestock and make their own herbal medicines. And I think they make their own pelts too out there. And they play the banjo. We know that. No, I'm kidding. Practically every holler has at least...
Some of them do.
Some of them do. Practically every holler has at least 2 dudes who own a track hoe or a bulldozer or know how to grade a driveway or divert a creek. Many of us drive old pickup trucks, heat our homes with the wood that we cut and split ourselves, and do our own auto repairs. We can, like I said, skin a buck, run a trout line, all that. A mountain boy can survive, right? We get flash bullets... Right, like me. I'm a tough mountain boy over here.
High school football game song PTSD. It's okay. I'm going to be all right. I've heard that way too many times. Anyway, continue.
They get flash floods every year in Appalachia. Most people here are prepared for normal flash flooding if they live in flood zones. This wasn't normal. It was more on a biblical scale. Also, it wasn't just people in valleys and hollers that were affected. We're talking about landslides that took the sides off of mountains and brought houses and entire towns down with it. Like literally, there's a town that's gone. It's off the map. All the houses are gone. Everything. Destruction on a scale unprecedented in this area. And again, just like saying we've never had a flash flood, I'm not saying we've never seen a landslide. Yes, they happen from time to time, especially on roadways that are graded into the sides of mountains. They're used to that stuff. But they don't typically happen everywhere all at once, combined with record flooding of towns everywhere all at once and power grid destruction everywhere all at once. I don't think people understand the scope here. Now, again, you two have lived in all 3 of you have lived in Florida, so you kind of do know the scale. And
still do.
I'm sorry, that's your fault.
I got hit with this one. Yep.
Somewhat, so, he had to.
One is bad
evacuate.
for us.
You had to evac, right?
Yeah. Luckily, I can afford to do that and pick up the pets and parents and head to a hotel room, spend $170 a night, for like 3 or 4. Like that's most people can't afford or even get close to being able to do that. So, and like you might get lucky and have a house where you're going to be fine. But most of the time, especially in the area I'm in, we're right on the water. Storm surge is going to, Perry got owned, which is not that far from me. So, like, I don't know if there's anything left there. I think there's, it was mainly a couple of stoplight town, but I heard they got pretty bad. So...
Somebody go over to
But it's just that slow-moving hurricane.
Somebody go over to Rumble and give our friend Anna some love over there. We're sorry.
Yep.
All right. She doesn't want to join the evil empire over on YouTube, but it's lonely over there, so...
Yeah.
Rumble.com/C/Any News Network. We're over there.
If it makes you feel any better, pretty soon we won't have a YouTube press all to go to.
That's
so we'll
right.
Have to be over there with you.
That's right. Either that or you'll have to join Dr. Nick over on Kick. He's hanging out over there. Dr. Nick, yeah, send him to Kick. Send him to Kick. Yeah, we need to catch Kit. We're only 130 behind him. We're right there.
Oh, we can.
Yeah,
we can take that. But like she says,
we'll
it would be.
Concert. We'll do a concert on Kick one night.
It would be impossible to be fully prepared. A concert,
No.
Yes, concerts. We like
I thought
concerts.
you said it would be impossible. I was like, oh,
unfortunate.
It would be impossible to be fully prepared for an event of this scale. It takes 100 times the manpower to repair infrastructure that's destroyed everywhere all at once than can be reasonably expected to have. Right? Fortunately, we have the linemen, like not the football linemen, but the real linemen, road crew, and other tradesmen arriving from out of town and out of state, like they do every hurricane and disaster like this, by the hundreds to assist the local crews. Amazing. It takes many times the resources to provide for people who, prepared or not, lost their homes, lost power, lost access to clean water. Now, this was before they had the visit from our wonderful president. I'm positive there are probably lessons here to be learned about how to be better prepared. That is true in any disaster situation. But to tell that to the Appalachian people that we should have known is a callousness is beyond belief. Yeah.
You know the thing.
Right? As a low-key prepper, Jesus, she has to reiterate this truth to other preppers all the time. And this is the reason, one of the reasons why I brought this whole article. Being prepared does not guarantee that you'll make it through whatever catastrophe you're envisioning with minimal loss. I think that's like so important because your envisioning cannot take into account every contingency that's a disaster, natural or man-made, that will throw at you. The community of Chimney Rock, we've got stuff about them, had existed for 100 years, over 100 years, and it's simply no more. There was nothing that could have prepared those people for the literal wiping of them off the map of their town. The surrounding communities were prepared with the equipment and the willpower to make their way up their roads that no longer exist to rescue survivors. That's all about the preparation one could expect in that particular situation. I mean, you can't do much.
Yeah.
Right. So the truth is, many people were about as prepared as they could have been, and those people, along with people who were less affected by property damage and loss of life, have been boots on the ground, helping neighbors who weren't as prepared or who solely due to their geographic position suffered the worst losses. And we're talking losses that's the top of a Wendy's.
Not the Wendy's.
Like, have you ever been in a Wendy's? Have you ever seen how tall that fucking sign is? Like that whole unimaginable before last week, right? And hey, what a shock. Mutual aid, but not government aid, is most effective. One thing I want to make clear to most people, to people watching this aftermath play out from afar, it's the local people, local businesses, local house of worship, and charities who are doing the majority of the relief work and making recovery happen at this stage. And she expects that to continue, which it has. This isn't the same as other hurricane relief efforts that we've seen. This reminds me of like Andrew in the 90s, where it was really, really bad. Like, right?
Yeah.
In that we were never advised to evacuate, and the people who were got like 10 minutes. And I saw a video of that I didn't bring. No one could have predicted it would be bad enough to necessitate evacuation. Now, you guys have a whole thing you wanted to talk about with regard to HARP, which may play into why nobody had any warning, and this just kind of dumped on everyone out of nowhere all of a sudden in areas where it should never have done that. In a way, it's sad because it means that many more people died than might have if we'd had better prediction of the storm severity. And in another way, it's good because we had local boots on the ground on day one, I guess, right? There's a spontaneous order that emerges at the intersection of skill set and necessity if we let it. Like, this is trying to pull some kind of positive. For instance, the Asheville area is home to a vibrant music scene and hosts many popular music festivals both in the city and surrounding rural areas each summer. One of the first alliances to get started on serious relief efforts were local festival crew, coordinating with local businesses to provide bottled water, prepared meals, Wi-Fi hotspots, baby supplies, other needs to folks in Asheville.
Mm-hmm.
Right? These festy kids, right? You make fun of the Ren Fair kids, are now branching out to deliver needed supplies to surrounding communities. Huge. State and federal agencies and national NGOs are here by this point, but by the time they arrived, the locals had already gotten started, and still a week in, I'm hearing reports of the government agencies still getting ready to get ready or directing self-deployed volunteers to cease their efforts. Right. That's the other thing we've been seeing, and I got a lot of that. Too many reports to dismiss. That's why I'm bringing it. Most of the real efforts I'm seeing are being efficiently organized and directed by local people. What a surprise. Almost all the aircraft running search and rescue missions and airdropping supplies are privately owned. I got one of those too. Civilian, I don't have a helicopter, but videos of a guy with a helicopter. If I had a helicopter, wow, I'd be down there myself. But civilians are using their own four-wheel drive vehicles and ATVs to deliver supplies to areas cut off due to impassable roads.
Boats and all that stuff. Yep.
And hopefully they don't smash into other boats. That's our other show.
Yep.
I'm not reporting on any of this as a plea to send more government help or get the Red Cross or Salvation Army to do more. God almighty, they don't do nearly what they should. Please, if you want to help, donate to the local nonprofits and churches or send funds to individuals you know who live in affected areas. They know the terrain and how to navigate it. They know who needs help and what kind of help is needed. They're competent and capable. They don't have international boards of directors to answer to. Do you hear us, Red Cross? All right. And they know where to put your donated funds for maximum impact. And as well, they won't take a 10% or 15% cut off the top like the Red Cross does or more. They aren't burdened with unnavigable labyrinths of bureaucracy, nor do they have pressing expenses to fund like foreign wars. We don't have any of those, do we?
What?
And then here, any words to the victims of the hurricane? We've given them everything we have. Any more resources that they could be giving?
Come on, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me a little break here.
No.
Yep,
No. All right. Then she's got.
When he had to clarify, he goes, "Which storm? What storm are we talking about?"
All right. Which storm?
The hurricane victims
Right.
in North Carolina. He goes, "Oh, they have everything they need. They're very happy."
All right.
Very happy. Very, very good.
Great. Excellent.
Very good people.
President.
And you ain't black.
Right. Now again. I don't. Hey.
I mean, he's right. He's right.
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Well, he was,
and
he did ran a bunch of bad boys for sure. All right,
and he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Hannah over on Rumble with a $20 Rumble rant. Woohoo! We got a Rumble rant.
Nice.
She says, "I'm convinced the more pure love talent is spawned in our reality, the more evil lizard structures quake. Shake it all down." Had your song for the fundraiser stuck in my head all week. Which one? 13 that gets us popped on YouTube, and I love it. I can't stop singing it either. I love it. Every time, you know, whoever you can have the money. Whatever 3 cents YouTube is making on it, you have it. But meanwhile, our friend is safe. Their family are fine. They're blessed. They're about as prepared as they could have been in terms of food storage, the ability to survive without modern conveniences for a few days. Although they were more than fortunate than many of their neighbors, the disaster has impacted their ability to earn an income and pay the bills. And sign up on coming to a Substack near you, which is $5 a month if you can do that. And I also brought a couple things. So now we got some other stuff about let's look into how bad this is. And I love how World Socialist website calls it for what it is. Capitalism. Come on. I was waiting for my Tim Curry soundbite.
I don't even know what that is.
Capitalism.
That's it.
Come on.
Capitalism.
Thank you.
Capitalism.
Yes.
Capitalism.
Right?
Okay, just making sure we got Tim Curry in there.
So, yeah, this is Tom Hall over at World Socialist website. And this is just a couple of slides talking about what happened devastation-wise and the numbers. 100,000 people without power, at least at that point only 40 people. Now it's many more. 40% of the county's population and water systems collapsed due to a combination of flooding, wind damage, and a loss of power. This is like crazy. $150 billion. You know, someone would wondering what's the damage going to cost. All right. Yeah. Across 6 states. All right. 150 billion. Augusta, Georgia had no power. Had no power.
With $1 billion?
No, 150 billion. 200,000 people without
billion?
Power. All right. 11 inches of rain in less than 48 hours. Like, yeah, everybody's basements were flooded.
That's nuts.
Yeah. Everybody's basements were flooded. Yep. So, despite well-publicized claims of a massive relief effort, most storm survivors have received little or nothing.
Nothing.
A spokesman for the North Carolina National Guard said the Guard troops had brought in 100,000 pounds of water and food through airlifts right at the Asheville airport, intended for distribution in 8 counties in North Carolina. Given that nearly 1 million people affected just in that area, that comes to a few ounces per person 3 days after the hurricane upended their lives. Yeah, thanks.
Jesus Christ.
Not the right kind of ounces either. Just saying.
Right?
Sorry, that was our driver.
You know?
Scared the hell out of me.
Right? Since Helene struck only 5 weeks before the presidential election, the Democratic and Republican candidates quickly proclaimed their sympathy for the victims and pledged federal and state aid, of course.
Prayers were treated.
Again, I love World Socialist website. Fascist Republican ex-President Donald Trump visited Valdosta, Georgia Monday to take in the distribution of relief supplies by a fundamentalist church. He managed to avoid the degrading scene. He managed to avoid the degrading scenes that accompanied his visit to Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, where, of course, he was seen shooting free throws of paper towels to angry survivors in that storm.
Thank you very much. That's really nice. Thank you.
Right. Democrat fascist Kamala Harris rushed back to Washington for a photo op visit to the headquarters of FEMA. I didn't clip the picture, but the best is like where she's got an earbud in her ear and the thing's not plugged into anything. It's just
Do not come.
It's just classic Harris. Right. She of course cut short a fundraising trip to California, expected to raise more than $60 million. Now we need the Dr. Evil music for her campaign. Mainly from the Silicon Valley moguls, cretins, and San Francisco financiers and scumbags. Right? The crypto and tech bros. The White House announced that President Fossil will visit North Carolina on Wednesday, although it will apparently be limited to a visit with the governor in Raleigh, a little ball licking by him. And thank you for sending all you can, Mr. President, even though you can barely speak. That's going to be in Raleigh, the state capital, followed by the helicopter overflight of the devastated Asheville region, which, of course, closed the fucking airspace for 4 hours and stopped all of the fucking helicopter flights in the region for a temporary flight restriction. Thanks, dickheads. Now let's see some of the damage. Now they started to repair some of this. This is like a major interstate highway between North Carolina and Tennessee. And what they tell truckers is, here's the route that we expect you to take to go around this little mess of a shot. All right. You've got to go all the fucked way around here to get around the damage to get right there, which you would have gotten if you just gone right there. How many days do you have to go out of your way to do that as a trucker? Anthony Malecki, I'm sure, is in chat somewhere. He can tell us. Holy shit.
I mean, that's the miles alone is enough.
As I mentioned,
probably long enough that you would have to stop for the night legally, because you only have so many hours you're allowed to drive in a day, and then there's
that's at least
that's
at least 2 full piss jugs worth, at least
in each direction,
at least 2,
because you got a deadhead too. Otherwise, you pick up another load and keep going. But yeah, and I didn't see anybody else show this map, so I was glad that I had this one on a freightways. It's hard, and that came right for the North Carolina DOT. Like, that was a few days ago. Now, I think, again, they have a lot of this stuff repaired. I-26, which enters North Carolina, north of Asheville, is fully open in the state. But for drivers in that area, the problem is that the road is closed once they try to enter Tennessee. The state storm update listed 5 destroyed bridges. 2 are on I-26, eastbound and westbound at mile marker 39.6.
Wow.
Yeah, don't drive there or your truck's going to go boom. The other destroyed bridges are all on state roads. All right.
Yep.
An official with the Tennessee DOT said the closure on the Tennessee side is from the state line to exit 37 in Unicoi County. So that's far. That's far. All right. And it's really not. And that's 40. That's literally like that little dash of 40 is where that X is where the bridge is out. And right there. Bang, bang. Like, where you going? There's nowhere to go. So, of those 5 bridges, Tennessee's Commissioner of Transportation told a media briefing that there's nothing there, and so those are going to have to start from scratch and be rebuilt. But the state's already begun to award contracts to get the construction moving quickly.
Yeah.
The ones who are there and shovel ready. Right?
Mm-hmm. And lowest bid. Usually.
Not necessarily in a disaster like this when federal money's coming in. All right. A database of all road closures on Monday morning listed more than 450 road closures throughout the state, the vast majority of them citing weather event as the cause of the closure. What a surprise. But one is more important than the rest, which is I-40, which to the west of Asheville enters North Carolina at its border with Tennessee in the Great Smoky Mountains and along the Pigeon River, whose flooding has been one of the key contributors to the devastation and havoc in the area. So now I've got some stuff that I'd rather bring here through the tweets. Okay, so we did that one. I got that. Here's one of the other overheads. Debris is seen in the aftermath. That's just right on day one, on the 30th. And you see those those train tracks are just wiped out. All right. Here's that road where, the I-40, the bridge right now. Here's another one. I have to mute this one, but most people have probably seen this one, but they're driving again through.
Guys, it's fucking unreal.
No music. Good job, boys.
Holy shit, unreal.
Yep. Power lines down everywhere.
This is October 2nd. This is 3 days after the storm. All right, now I have to.
And they keep in mind, a lot of people see this destruction. What they don't see is just the ancillary stuff that isn't here for all the people who were here. Like, you can't do laundry. Yeah, cooking is probably going to be pretty difficult. It's the little stuff. People don't have clean clothes to wear for, this is 3 days after, I remember, I had family in Katrina.
Watch this one.
Where
here's a before and after. Watch this.
Yeah, that's all.
Bye-bye.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
But
it's gone.
He went shirtless because he didn't have a shirt and ended up getting 3rd degree sunburn pretty much.
Here it is again. Now we're restarting here. Look at that.
That's unreal.
All right, that's courtesy of Near Map. That was October 3rd from overhead. Just half the house is gone. Everything in there damaged, gutted. And I hope insurance companies are insured. You know, this is why everybody pays in all that money for the insurance. The question is will it actually be paying out?
Allegedly.
Will it actually be paying out?
Probably not.
You know, I once had an accountant that used to say, you know, nothing like a good natural disaster to prime an area with some fresh money.
Yeah.
You know, you know, so here's Cam.
That the president has approved.
You exist in the
I can't even. For 100% federal reimbursement of local costs. All right. The burden to local governments. I can't believe she really said burden. She really said burden.
You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
Unreal.
Just meaningless.
Right. All right. So, but
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
But Lolo says, where were you when the people of Maui needed you? You suck ass at your job. They ain't here. They shut down airspace for 4 to 5 hours, and no other planes could get in.
They were hanging out with Oprah.
There's a whole lot of towns in North Carolina far worse off than Nashville, and we're going to talk about some of those. All right. Then we have our friend Jack's page, $750. This is how little your government thinks of its citizens. All right. And we got that. You can see that pretty well.
Don't they owe us another, like, $1,700 the last time they promised us stuff? You know? Oh. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about thousands in damages everywhere.
Someone is just
like
dude, like just collapsed into nothing to itself.
That it's not.
Look at that.
I don't know if they know the cost of plywood anymore, but like $750 is like 3 sheets anymore. So, you know,
plywood.
Yeah.
No, you just slap some drywall on that, right? Just wow,
yeah, dude,
wow,
just duct
wow.
tape. It'll be fine.
Just duck it. Just duck it.
That's right, dude.
All right.
Gorilla tape.
All right, back to the slideshow view. So now we're big. Good. Okay, so we're out of here. Next, I've got this one. Fee. Hi, Fee. $750 is more of an insult to injury. This is disgusting. Americans are facing thousands of dollars in losses, and many will never recover. And of course, I had to clip the moment where she says,
And the federal relief and assistance that we have been providing has included FEMA providing $750 for folks who need immediate needs being met, such as food, baby formula, and the like. And you can apply now for anyone who's watching this who has been affected. There are FEMA personnel who are going door to door to interact personally with folks, especially those who
barely
do not have
a door there
electricity.
behind
but
her.
Also, that aid, if you have electricity, can be applied for online, and I encourage people to do that. FEMA will just basically verify your address, and the process should take hold.
I was gonna say, like, if you don't have electricity, you could do that online, but no, she said if you have.
FEMA providing $750 for folks.
Unbelievable. I can't even listen to her. But $750, is she kidding? They gave people $1,200 for 2 years plus $600. Some never got it all for the COVID debacle. She's not kidding. Yeah, that's right, Fee.
Yep.
Please, Fee.
I wish I
Come
could
on.
remember who had made the point, but they were talking about the applying the whole process that they said, you know, our government, they absolutely know when you take a shit, they know what you watched this morning, you know. We know whose house got wiped out. We can do an aerial scan and go, these people's addresses are gone. These people need relief. You shouldn't have to go apply and lift a fucking finger if you don't have anything left. There's no excuse when we can go, you know, heat scan a building in the Middle East and find out who's in it and then drone bomb it. We can get relief to everyone who lost their home. We can see that and we can fucking do it. And it's bullshit to act like we can't.
It looks like the pier.
Hey, everybody remember
that we
that?
built.
That's our
doesn't exist anymore.
That's our $230 million Gaza pier that lasted 20 days. But $750 per American who lost everything to the hurricane.
Yeah.
Thanks, fam.
Oh.
Victory Gin, shout out.
To be fair, they got their money out of that, though, because they used it to disguise aid, and then it brought in a bunch of troops and they massacred a refugee camp. So that's probably worth it for the U.S.
Yeah, a military pier brought military personnel and equipment. Who would have thought that would happen?
And they didn't attack anyone, and they didn't injure anyone. No,
no,
none of that happened.
Never.
And the federal relief and assistance that we have been providing has included FEMA providing $750.
Just a reminder of how much we're getting: $750 if you live there for your life.
A couple of boxes of Twinkies at Dollar General.
So
$750.
Three trips to the grocery store. You know.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, seriously.
$750. Bidenomics. All right. Next, we got this one. Okay, so here's where it starts to turn, and you start to read about like, what the hell's really going on here? A whistleblower in North Carolina.
Let me get my tinfoil hat on.
Yeah, let's put your Alex. Do we have Alex? Do we have any Alex Jones here? I don't know. No.
We do a little trolling. It's called we do a little trolling.
Right.
They're turning all the frogs gay.
Right. They're turning the frogs gay. Thank you. A whistleblower, right? And Cynic says, right, you have to qualify for any assistance on top of it. The lack of federal,
means tested. Plenty of people that say they're getting denied outright. All their neighbors are getting denied. We got onto the website, can't get through. It's saying no. Like,
bullshit.
Here's a million hoops to jump through. You know,
bruh. Here's Charlie Mac fam. $100 says Holocaust Harris can't name all the states without a cue card or earpiece. 100%. 100%.
I couldn't do that, so I'd get stuck and be like Tennessee, Georgia. I'd have difficulty.
Right. Jesse is here. Yes, Crab. Jesse and Jess are here. Yes, Jesse is here. Surprise! Where the fuck are you guys been? We've been here for like an hour already. Let's go. All right. Moab. All right, so here's where it goes off the rails. A whistleblower claims that the U.S. government is seizing land in Chimney Rock, North Carolina following a disaster. Allegedly, YouTube. Allegedly. This is not me.
Allegedly.
Disclaimer, heavy disclaimer, refusing to allow residents to return. They allege allegedly, bodies are being left uncollected and federal authorities are preventing recovery efforts. Residents are struggling without food and water, with reports of increasing crime. Volunteers are attempting to help, but there's dire need for a broader response, including military assistance. Wait, our military's not busy doing anything right now, are they?
Right.
No.
So
they're not busy. They're just hanging out.
So some of the people in replies kind of have an idea of what's happening. Is this to do with the lithium mining or the pure quartz production? I've tried to ignore those rumors posted online. Nah. People need to ignore the government orders when they violate our rights as citizens. Pretty sure I heard this theme story in Maui, second verse, same as the first. You see a lot of that going on. Now, somebody here says that it will not be bulldozed despite claims. And of course, that's corporate media trying to...
According to officials.
Right. Nothing to see here.
We investigate ourselves and clear ourselves of any wrongdoing.
Please disperse. Right?
For real? Damn, it must be true.
So now, this is the other one that I was like, I got to bring this. Red Cross and FEMA has arrived, and all donations that have been given to local high school volunteers have been confiscated. Again, that's Chimney Rock.
Nice.
Whoa, what happened here? Okay, there we go.
Broke it.
Starting with Davy Crockett High School, they're taking over all volunteer schools in Washington County and Greene County in order for anyone to get donations that was given, they must be approved. Now, I saw something about that. All monetary donations have been taken as well and placed into a TEMA account. If you're unaware of how that works, those items don't all get used for this particular disaster even. So fucked up. Volunteers have been asked...
Save some disaster money for later.
No, they're going to spread it around and send it down to Georgia.
Yeah.
Volunteers have been asked to leave, and we're told that in order to help, they must be trained by the United Way. Please.
Okay.
I already made a post on Red Cross and FEMA the other day, but please, if you donate to a church or give to individuals. They cannot take supplies from churches. Church members will make sure your donations get to the correct hands. We're still taking donations here, as well as picking up donations this weekend. Our donations will be going directly to churches to help the communities. And I know several others that are picking up donations and taking them as well. Just incredible people. I can put you in contact with those churches. And she's tagging, big accounts right underneath this guy with the whistleblower guy. Right? So what's going on here? Well, here's another one. Stranded people were begging the South Carolina helicopter pilot to rescue them. So he tried to, but he was forced to leave and threatened with arrest if he came back to get more people. And that's over a 4-minute segment on the evening news. I don't want to play that, but that's in Queen City News.
Good for the local news for even touching that story.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. They'll get in trouble for that by Sinclair or whoever their broadcast home is.
Right.
At some point. That's Truth Stream Media. By the way, Truth Stream Media, Ryan from The Last American Vagabond, that's Melissa Dykes, shared a video that they produced about what's going on in North Carolina that people should definitely check out that goes even deeper into this than we're going tonight. A lot more conspiracy depth. But here's another guy, a MAGA guy, who I would not normally be sharing or publishing here, but they're doing, a lot. This is MAGA country. So MAGA country is helping each other, and you got to shout them out for doing it. Right? So if you're wondering why citizens are being turned away that are coming to help in North Carolina and Tennessee, you'll want to hear my experience as someone who has been doing this as a private citizen for almost a decade. Which makes me wonder, how are you able to do that on a regular? But okay, great on you. Thank you. I was able to get into and out of Asheville. We brought food, water, fuel, and other supplies, as well as help people affected by the floods. But there are other reasons why they're not allowing outside help. I cannot confirm the reasons why in North Carolina, but I can tell you the reasons in other storms I've worked. I'll explain. Let me share with you the first disaster area. I finally realized that this was all about money. Go figure. No way. In the Florida,
alert.
Oh my God. In the Florida Keys with Hurricane Irma, I believe somebody said they were in Hurricane Irma. After Texas got hit with Harvey, we finished our efforts in Texas and were the first citizen team to make it to Key Largo. The federal agencies had US 1 shut down just south of Key Largo and wouldn't let anyone in or out, even though the road was okay to pass. We explained to them that we had boats, jet skis, food, water, chainsaws, and fuel to bring these people. They didn't care and wouldn't let us in. It was night by that point, and you rarely saw the lights of vehicles in the distance on the individual keys, meaning the emergency response teams from FEMA weren't even working. It was all quiet. We decided we'd go in anyway. They did a night mission. This guy's got to be like ex-CIA, definitely ex-Intel.
Right.
We filled up the boats and jet skis with all that we could reasonably carry and went by water around all their BS blockades and around their law enforcement presence on the water. It was just 87 miles by water to our first stop, Cudjoe Key and Sugarloaf Key. When we arrived there, we were greeted... Right, Sugarloaf. When we were greeted by a homeowner, for privacy, I won't name him, even though we have video, who was elated to see us and all the supplies we brought. His house was in shambles. We started offloading supplies on the shoreline and helping to get them into what was left of his house. During that process, he explained to us that FEMA had set up a command center at a local high school on the island, but that they weren't doing anything to help the local residents and not even bringing them water. Instead, he explained that they were driving around using a loudspeaker, telling people to stay in their homes and vote for Kamala Harris. They weren't even helping the homeowners with supplies. Like, they had the car out there. Why not stop? I was skeptical at first when he was telling me all this, but then he said something that broke my heart. He told us that the people of the Keys were all in despair because they had just seen weeks before the overwhelming support for Texas with Hurricane Harvey and the citizens of this country. He and his neighbors and on all the Keys felt like Americans had forgotten about them completely because at this point, 5 days after landfall, all they had seen was FEMA and they were of no help. The residents were cut off from the outside world, no cell, no internet, no way to contact anyone or hear any efforts to try to help them. The only communication they had was from a local radio station on Sugarloaf Key that was broadcasting on AM to the surrounding Keys. Yeah. That man, after hearing that there were citizens trying to bring help, but refused entry by law enforcement federally, was visibly upset. He and his neighbors thought the country had abandoned them. He insisted that we went to his waterlogged truck and he would take us up to that radio station so we'd go live on air to tell the citizens trapped in the Keys that we, the American people, were there to help and that the government was trying to stop our efforts. And that's exactly what we did.
Conch Republic.
Fucking pirate radio, baby. I love it. All right.
WKRP in Cincinnati.
So after that, we were determined to help as many people as we could, but we were met with red tape throughout the whole process and time we were in the Keys. We finally were able to talk some authorities to let us down to the Faro Blanco Resort and Marathon towards the end of Boot Key. This was the same hotel where state and local authorities were staging their personnel, and they were happy to see us. Stupid. But the people at the border were stopping them. I was able to coordinate several trucks full of supplies to be brought down to the EOC in Marathon. I was privy to the EOC meeting, but was informed in that meeting that all the semi-trucks full of food, water, and hygiene supplies were to be turned around and not allowed to be offloaded for distribution by the EOC. What? Yeah. The reason they gave us was that these donations were not from companies on their preferred vendors list and that they would not accept them, nor would they give them to the residents of the Keys impacted by the storm. At that point, I realized, again, this is all about the money. These preferred vendors are getting part of the money that are being released by the federal and state government for each disaster. Like I said, in turn, some of the vendors make it on the list because a friend gets them on the list, and then in return for getting ridiculously outlandish amounts of compensation for the services they render, they give kickbacks. Remember, Reef, you said the lowest bidder? Not necessarily.
Yep.
Because of this.
Yeah, it's nepotism.
Not just nepotism, but specifically kickbacks, all right?
Yeah.
That the people themselves are going to end up getting money or some kind of we'll hook up your house with an extra bathroom, or we'll do this or that or whatever it is, right?
I think a wise man said it best, cash rules everything around me.
No,
Gotta get the money.
That was my daughter. My daughter said that.
Definitely your daughter said that.
So
it was a pretty good day.
Unreal. So accepting outside donations, even though they're on location and can help people now, they would rather let people suffer so they can get their kickbacks. This meeting solidified my resolve to help these people, regardless of what the greedy officials wanted. We were going to feed the lower Keys that were being neglected. This guy reminds me of Keith McHenry, but like Betty Keith McHenry. Right? I diverted all semi-trucks to the Faro Blanco Resort and Marathon and filled the entire first floor with pallets of food, water, and essential supplies, and created food pantry for residents to come and get anything and however much they needed. From state troopers to the homeless, all were given wheelbarrows and free reign to get anything they needed. We also delivered supplies down to Big Pine Key. We helped establish the tent city on Big Pine Key. Big companies like Tito's Vodka and Whalen just kept bringing trucks full of everything that was needed. When FEMA finally started...
Mainly vodka for Florida.
Well, there's a lot of Tito's in the Keys, man. You know?
Say no, your people.
Margaritaville's gotta stay running, you know?
But when FEMA finally started handing out boxes of cans, never mind that the boxes were empty like the cans. I don't want to reference anybody's lyrics or anything. Limited to one per household, we were filing cars full of food and supplies for people and pets. We're filling, not filing. Right? There's so much more to the story in the Keys and further from there in storms that we worked. The common theme, though, is that the federal government always tries to keep citizens from helping, and the local authorities, the ones that live and work in the area, are always happy to have outside help. I call out to Elon Musk, although fair enough, you're gonna laugh, but he sent Starlinks to everybody, and I'm sure he did. And I'm sure Anna's gonna have something to say about that. But he calls out to Elon and anyone else who can help monetarily to help people like himself and those who work with them, who have the knowledge and the will to help those devastated by these disasters. Help us sidestep the red tape and get the help and the people the relief they need. We're willing, we are the many, and we are ready. And no, you're not a total... Look, bro. Glowing!
Help me, Elon Musk.
Glowing!
You are our only hope.
But bro, that's what that's what they're doing. You know, salt of the earth. Ryan Tyree. All right, these are his photos. Yeah, he might be. He very well might be. But bless him for this. Seriously. Father, photographer, trucker, patriot, independent, conservative. So who knows which way he leans? Independent. We love independence. So here's another guy about helicopters, right? Now, this is a 5-minute video. I don't think I'm going to watch the whole thing, but...
State Guard Special Missions Unit. And I'm also up here with Aerial Recovery, a nonprofit. I came up here on Sunday with Aerial Recovery before we even got activated. We flew up here, and then we got activated, which is great. I have my team up here working as well. Here's the problem. I'm going to tell you everything that's happening from the ground, what I'm actually seeing, because what they're telling you is complete bullshit on the news, and these politicians don't have a fucking clue, and they're lying. And I'll say this now, I'll say it at the end of the video. The only thing I need from this video is helicopters. If I have helicopters, I can save lives. Without helicopters, I can't reach these people. It doesn't matter how many chainsaws and trucks I got, I can't get to them. They're 10 miles in, 20 miles, 40 miles in the mountains. There's no way to get with them or even communicate with them. I am literally flying around in a civilian helicopter looking for SOS messages carved in the mud or painted on the ground, and we're dropping down and saving them. Jesus. What got me fired up about this was yesterday, me and my team did the rescue of that 11-day-old baby. And all these government officials and social media, they're showing that video, that pictures and video of that rescue, and claiming that like they have some like government helped with that. And I mean, even USA, I think it was USA Today, wrote an article about it saying it was a Florida National Guard that went and got it, like with a helicopter. No, of course. It was me, my buddy Charlie, and a civilian named Zeb with his own personal helicopter out of Wilmington, North Carolina. Like without that civilian, that baby would be dead. And the old lady we went and rescued after that, she'd be dead too, because she had 1 day left of oxygen. Jeez. No one was going to go get them. I will tell you, when we go up in the air, I probably see 40 civilian helicopters, and I might see 2 Blackhawks, National Guard, military, whatever they are. That's it. No one's out there doing rescues. I have my entire team up here from Florida right now, and they have no ability to go rescue these people other than what they can drive to. And the people that are in dire need, they're out in the mountains. They are completely cut off. Now, I will say, I spoke to my congresswoman down in Florida, and she's a badass, and she made a bunch of phone calls, and now we got 2 contracted 60s coming up here tomorrow, which is great. I love that, but like, I still don't understand why we don't have more helicopters. Like, we'll get a lot of work done with that, but there's no military. There's no one's doing nothing. It blows my mind. And they're not even allowing people to see what's really going on. One of our friends yesterday, they were actually escorting CNN down at Lake Lure, and they wouldn't even let CNN, the sheriff department would not let them go videotape the bad areas, how destructive it is. I don't know why they don't want to show you all that, but I mean, it is bad. I should also say, when I flew here on Sunday, they actually stopped us from going in, the sheriff department. And it was because of a bunch of politics that they were claiming was the Speaker of the House of North Carolina that was preventing us from even going in and trying to kick us out, which I have clarified today with North Carolina politicians that reached out to me, good on them, And they were like, that's complete bullshit. Speaker of the House has nothing. He wants you guys there. But this is the kind of political BS that is happening here right now. Like, everyone's trying to be in charge without taking any type of action. Nobody wants to coordinate with anybody. Everybody wants to pretend like they're being the hero while these people are literally fucking dying in the mountains. Yep. And these people, like I'm saying, these people are limited medication. They're running out of oxygen, and there's no one going to get them. The most effective way I have found to go find these people is by getting in a helicopter and flying down the rivers and roads and looking for SOS messages or people waving us down. And then we drop down and get them. We have all these people here. We have law enforcement. We have State Guard, National Guard. They have no way to go get these people. Yesterday, when I was at the Asheville airport refueling, which, by the way, the civilian is paying all this out of his own pocket. He's not even looking for a reimbursement. I think we did 4 refuelings yesterday. And that was like just in half a day's work.
That's a lot of money.
We're in Asheville, and I saw 2 Air Force helicopter 60s. And I knew they were PJs just looking at them. And I went up to them, I'm like, hey guys, like, what are y'all doing? And like, this is what you need to be doing. This is how I'm finding people. And they're like, we can't go. We're waiting on Title 10 orders. And I'm like, what? They can't get any authority. There's military helicopters all over here sitting on the ground, and they can't do nothing.
Yep.
Even my JSOC boys in Fayetteville, they can't get orders to come out here. It is just the most disgusting thing, and they're killing these people. And I don't know why they're doing it. I don't know what kind of conspiracy. I've heard so many things, whatever you want to come up with, but they are literally allowing these people to fucking die in the mountains right now because we can't get helicopters. They got money for everything else in the fucking world right now, but if they could just get us helicopters, we could fly out there and rescue these people. So I hope this video goes viral. I hope these politicians get fired. I hope people get pissed off. They'll probably kick me out of the state of North Carolina for doing this, but you know what? I don't care, because if I can save one more life for it, it's fucking worth it to me.
Oh yeah, man. Like, all right, so slideshow on. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, helicopters. So now, speaking of helicopters, I got to give a shout out. You know, I was a NASCAR fan for many, many years. Alex Knight famously knows very well that I'm.
So it's okay. We still love you.
Well,
right.
NASCAR. You know, North Carolina is NASCAR. Now, North Carolina is NASCAR country. So Greg Biffle used to be a Cup driver. He drove for Jack Roush. He won a couple of championships at the mid level, but and did pretty well at the Cup level. But you know, he's made millions over his career. He's very comfortable. He's got a helicopter and lives well, but lives in North Carolina. He just dropped everything and started running helicopter missions and doing relief aid. And he's one of these citizens that's doing it. So this is a video from Boone that he shared from one of his neighbors, right? Of look out of just the kind of surge and destruction that comes in.
My car's gone.
I'm okay. It's okay.
The everything's gone. It's all gone.
It's okay. It's okay.
Are your parents okay?
They're okay.
Was anybody in the gym?
It's okay. It's okay.
Hey, you're okay.
Jesus. All right. So Greg started flying helicopter missions. Here's day 7. And he's now a licensed helicopter pilot. A lot of these guys learn to fly. All right. And there's a bunch of different comments underneath. Here's one where he says, the mirror that caught our attention well over a mile away. Only way we were able to find someone stranded in the mountains at the bottom of a steep canyon. 6 attempts to land due to difficulty, but we got there. We got him a chainsaw, EpiPens, insulin, chicken food, formula, gas, 2-stroke oil, and sandwiches pre-made from Harris Teeter before we left. Right, and here's the fly-in, and like you can see like the reflection of
bip, 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 bip.
There they are standing in the field.
We'll flash
with a mirror.
Flash. Learn how to do that, by the way, people. That is not a hard skill to pick up. Make the little V with your fingers, point it at the plane, mirror behind it.
All right.
You know.
Then here they are.
Waggle it around.
And again, you know, we bag and dog on Elon Musk as well. We should, for being a douchebag. But he sent Starlinks to all the people in need. Free Starlinks for anyone who needs it. And as long as you can get power, as long as you can get your dish to the sky, you can have internet at least. So
You get a Starlink. You get a Starlink.
But meanwhile, I saw today he had tweeted that the government was actually stopping him from going somewhere to drop off a whole bunch of them. But that was like 150 they had loaded in the back of that one. And then again, now we get back into the quartz mines. Now we get into the conspiracy stuff, the fun stuff.
This flooding in North Carolina does not sit well with me. I think something's going on. So I decided to do some digging. So the first thing I find out is North Carolina has the richest deposits of lithium in the entire world. Yeah, lithium for like cars, batteries, all that. Then I find out they have the world's highest
Spruce Pine.
quartz
Remember
deposits.
Spruce Pine?
And that quartz just so happens to be the world's supply for AI chips, microchips, and all kinds of stuff.
90%.
We're talking a $530 billion industry. So this is where it gets interesting. So a company by the name of Piedmont Lithium is awaiting a state mining permit for a site in northern Gaston County. And Gaston County is completely flooded right now. The project was awaiting zoning approval because they were getting backlash from the residents and also city officials. And this lithium mine they want would be the third largest producer of lithium in the world. And they made a deal with Tesla already. Now remember the quartz? So in Spruce Pine, North Carolina, right next to Ashland, they are wanting to expand their mines even larger. And the residents aren't having it either. Enter the floods. People, these are mountain towns. It rarely, if not ever, floods in the mountains. I would know. I grew up in the mountains in Colorado, which means none of these people have flood insurance. I mean, the media is saying biblical devastation in North Carolina, aka like the worst thing that could happen, and you're not coming back from it. Read between the lines, people. Everything happens for a reason.
I hope we don't get popped for that music. I just realized he had music behind him the whole time. Damn it.
I didn't hear it for what it's worth.
I didn't even hear it. So.
Okay, well, good. Hopefully it blocked it out. Hey, how about this? No power, but only minor damage to the Spruce Pine Quartz Mine.
I'll sleep all tonight.
Thank God.
There we go.
Perfect.
No way.
Oh.
Town destroyed. Mine just fine. Minor damage.
Minor. I see what you did there. Minor.
How about that? All right. With around 500 employees, Sibelco is the largest employer in Mitchell County, a rural mountainous area northeast of Asheville. The company said all its employees and contractors have been accounted for following last week's storm, thank goodness, which dumped more than 2 feet of rain on Spruce Pine and flooded the local North Toe River. Its facilities have been closed since September 26th. Huh. How about that? Now, again,
not the dulcimer.
I was going to say, wait a minute.
Yeah, wait.
Not the dulcimer.
Wait.
What are we going to play our folksy ballads with?
What are we going to play? Okay, you're going to have to switch back to the guitar for Through the Eyes, I guess. So, we actually played the dulcimer version on Friday night's clip show. Check out clip show Friday nights for all of you who hadn't, who don't watch it. That was a fun night. Look at them, just. Oh no. God Almighty!
In the world's smallest bobcat.
And again, it's mud, even in places where it's not toxic, like in
Georgia,
in the first town you mentioned.
Yeah.
Still, anyone will tell you flood water is some of the most toxic shit on its own.
It's gross.
So once that all gets to turn into mud and then dry out in the sun, then I don't see how any of that isn't toxic to be breathing in and handling.
All right, I got 2 more things here. All right, this is a thread that I thought was really interesting, and of course now we've got a community note. But this guy Prester, the Prester Khan, what's his story? We don't know. I'm sure a lot has been speculated on about what's going on in North Carolina. I'm a resident, one who has just now gotten enough of a signal to access the internet for more than a minute or 2 at a time. I'll explain. Utterly devastated, obviously, is the state we're in. Were it not for the good old boys borrowing, tractors and backhoes borrowing, siphoning diesel, firing up chainsaws, we'd all have been stuck for days or weeks or longer than we have. Again, that's that Appalachian mountain man stuff. We sure as hell didn't have any state or federal assets coming to help. Our own governor didn't bother to declare a state of emergency until 3 days in. Around 70% of state aid is going to the Asheville area. Forgotten are we mountain folk. All right. Terrible. And yeah, declared a state of emergency on the 25th. The storm didn't hit on the 28th. So he actually declared it 3 days before. So that's the community note there. Okay. We that have lost more people than we know of yet, we that have lost family, friends, homes, and businesses, save a single border patrol car, some National Guard trucks and helicopters, and Forest Service personnel. The real help I've seen has been that of volunteers, and we've seen this theme repeatedly. That's not only a disservice to us, but to you as well. My hometown is Spruce Pine, which is located about an hour from Asheville. What many of you don't know is that the world economy relies on my small town. We mine the purest quartz on earth. That quartz becomes the silica that we refine to 99.999999% purity. This is what I do when I go to work every day.
Of course.
That refined silica goes into the chips in your cell phones, TVs, solar panels, and a long list of et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Down in the mountains and in the county next door, in the town of Marion, is the Baxter plant. Baxter is responsible for 80% of the IV bags used in every hospital across the country. What you should all be asking yourselves is why state and federal government assistance was not here in these small towns immediately following this disaster. I mean, these are literal like national, the national security issues if you don't have these towns. The carnage, destruction, and looting in places like Asheville make for good news stories, but the real story is here. Here, among the descendants of the Scotch and the Irish who settled these lands that reminded them of their own. The rugged individualists who helped shape this country and who still take care of their own. It's our story, but it affects not only us, it affects all of us. All right, and big thank you to Dan Holloway for mentioning Spruce Pine.
Literally, people who pulled triggers for their unions.
Dude, is that the... I know a guy named...
Like, that's all that area.
I know a guy named Dan Holloway. I got to check out and see if that's him. Oh, my God, that's amazing. For mentioning Spruce Pine
on that mountain?
On the Drinking Brothers podcast. I never heard of them. Drinking Bros? Apparently. Person
where
we
get the redneck from the red bandana union fight on that one of those Smoky Mountains over there.
Yeah.
I forget. Someone will remind me in chat, I'm sure. Somebody knows more than me.
And then we've got our friend Brook Hines.
There's a few more brain cells left.
Yep. I know we're running long. So I got our friend Brook Hines. She wanted to talk about a class in Western North Carolina, especially Asheville. And again, looking at the mines versus where the relief is going. If you're unfamiliar with the area, you might imagine the kind of Appalachia with missing teeth and moonshine. No, that's Irwin on the Tennessee side where people died at the plastic company. Asheville and surrounding towns look like Chimney Rock, Lake Lure, Bat Cave, Black Mountain are all like Sonoma or Mendocino, California now. These aren't places where eminent domain will be an issue. Yeah, Bat Cave. So she says from Realtor.com, look at a view of Lake Lure.
To the Bat Cave.
You've got, for the most part, $1 million and up homes, a few smatterings of older homes that are $500,000. They'll probably have to be knocked down and rebuilt, after they're sold. But you can see what's going on here is that these are, she says, here's a mid-range property in Chimney Rock. It's around $500,000. Obviously an investment property. Hope they've got flood insurance. Average builder grade crap. Vinyl wood and carpeted throughout. $500,000. All right. Here's a property up the road in Lake Lure, $1 million and not waterfront. If you're familiar with the Asheville area, I'll bet this isn't the picture of Appalachia that most had in mind. Look at that. Beautiful. Right?
Yeah, that seems like it to me.
3 levels. I mean, places like this are gone or really severely damaged for sure. But point being, don't use Chimney Rock area as the example of eminent domain risk. Instead, keep an eye on Spruce Pine, where the lithium deposits are. Notice what's between Asheville and Spruce Pine. Big mountains. It's a much different area. There's Spruce Pine up there. There's Asheville down there where she's circled. All right. And then there's more mines up here.
Is there.
This is where the money is, and where they live is down here. And they take this to get to the money that's there. Right?
If we can save the banks, then we can save the world.
So, holy shit. They need a lot of help. A lot of help. So, yeah, and we sometimes need some help here too. If you're able to support your independent media streamers, all this research, I do all this on my own time, just like we all do. And any help you can give to contribute, there's a bunch of different ways to do that in the chat. You can see it on there. It was Cash App, Ko-fi, QR code usually is around somewhere. It may not be tonight because we got a different show and a different layout, but. Yeah, you guys were talking about HARP. So let's talk about directed energy and whether this was intended, because you guys have been looking into that. So I'd love to hear more about what you found.
Well, I hate to say my HARP research hit a wall when I found out it's actually birds, what we've been seeing on the radar. I've been informed that it's just birds. So it's really not.
Yay.
Allegedly.
We all know the birds aren't real, so, you know.
I say that every show. Fine. I say that every show. Birds aren't real.
I'll post tonight where I found a link for the file for the Cirrus report, the Project Cirrus research from GE, and this started in 1949, and they wrapped it up in like 54, and even then, our capabilities for cloud seeding, the point I'm up to right now, they had finished a test in New Mexico, and they were able to conclude that for sure, like, this was a day where they weren't going to have rain. They were able to like conclusively say that they were responsible for all of the rain on the 2 days they trialed this. And between those 2 days combined, they got close to 500 billion gallons of water. And
that's a lot of water.
I can't remember what they said. Helene was trillion amount, but I don't remember how much. But still, if this is, in 1954, early 50s.
That's insane.
We had that capability then, and it's amazing that just trying to say we can do that is suddenly people will come out of the woodwork and come attack you, as my poor wife found out on Facebook. But when you see Marjorie Taylor Greene posted that of course we can do that. Everyone knows we can do that, whatever. And
Jewish space lasers. What?
Sarah Silverman popped up and was like, "You're an anti-Semite."
Yep. That's great.
Of course, as soon as someone like that says it, then it becomes a partisan thing. Now it's some crazy Republican theory. And sure enough, if you look in the comments anywhere, someone says something as innocuous as, "This is a technology that exists, and there are reports and studies on it," people are just attack you like you're saying that the Holocaust wasn't real, or that like birds aren't real. Like it's insane the amount of animosity that people have locked away like a sleeper agent until you say something that is objectively true. That you don't have to go full rabbit hole with it. You can just say like, this technology is real. And people are like, no, that sounds like something from a movie. That's just bogus. You're spreading misinformation and you should have your account taken away.
Well, then,
like Rachel
then
Blevins.
at the same time, we've got climate change because a couple of rich assholes decided to make money off that system. That's totally not real now. What? Would you like me to show you the amount of bleached coral? Like,
Yeah,
like
plankton's not
that's
coming
definitely
back.
happening. Right. Like, no matter how many Krabby Patty recipes you have, plankton isn't coming back. But I just find it like it's like that dichotomy of it can't be climate change, so it has to be Jewish space lasers. And it can't be Jewish space lasers. It can't be. It's like, both those things could possibly be, like.
For sure. Yeah, well, it's the same thing with the election. People can't have two things exist in their brain at the same time. That's too much. That's way too much.
Right.
No space lasers.
It's much too difficult.
No space lasers. We're not allowed to have space lasers.
This
it's either that or sharks with lasers on their freaking heads.
Again, whoever put this up on TikTok, thank you for your service. Incredible.
Yep. Bless you.
But $770 Hermes a belt. There you go, peasants. $750.
Yep.
There's the.
So what an ugly belt for $700. First of all.
Fucking gross.
First of all, it makes you look like a fucking
manly.
What is it? What is it? What is it? W for Wumbo?
No, it's an H.
What is that?
It's an H for Hermes. But it's
people
bad.
Get the reference. They know what I'm talking about. You just never watched SpongeBob. It's fine.
It's bad.
It's
bad.
It's fine.
All right.
It's real bad.
And well, we're gonna go from one bad to another. Yes, that's Dr. Nick's producer credits for the night. Woot woot. Yes, because Dr. Nick actually was the one who shared it.
Said Harp was a good beer. How dare you?
Dougie G also posted that
One
one.
fact that just seems to be getting out is that one of the majority investors for BlackRock's mining division is Doug Emhoff.
No.
Okay.
Kamala Harris's husband?
Like the first man?
Yeah.
About to be the first dude?
Yeah. That guy.
Nothing to see here, folks.
Right, exactly.
Nothing to see here.
Which I'm sure will come as a surprise to no one.
Help me, Oprah Winfrey. That's right.
Help me, Tom Cruise.
That's right. Well, if we
Help me, Tom Cruise! Tom Cruise using witchcraft on me to get the fire off me!
Yes, he does. Sometimes he has to do that. All right. So I've got a couple more stories. I know it's getting late. I don't know if you guys want to hang. I got this funny one. Laura Kay, Normal Island News. She's freaking hilarious. If you have not subscribed to her, I found out who she actually is, and I didn't realize this, but she actually hosts a Sunday morning show on the BBC Two. It's like Sunday mornings with Laura Kusenberg.
Gross.
All right, but
leave that publication.
Okay. But yeah, she should totally leave there. But they pay her a handsome salary, which we found out a couple weeks ago. But her Substack blog, you would never know this woman works for the BBC. You would never know this woman works for the state. And all she does is shit on Israel and she's one of us, clearly. But some people think she's a conservative and she's a Tory. Some people think she's a raging lefty liberal pro-Palestine person. Like she's a good host because nobody knows. It almost reminds me like of Tim Russert in a way. It's like, nah, you can't possibly be that. Like she kind of tries to push it down the middle. So her whole thing is it's all parody. Every single article she writes, everything is written tongue in cheek, firmly planted with snark. Breaking, Israel has explained the Hamas base that wasn't under one of the hospitals in Gaza is probably under one of the hospitals in Lebanon, so it's bombing them all to be safe. All right. So when I want to know about what's going to happen with World War III, I want to go to my snarky news. So that's Laura. She says, get your popcorn out. The end of the world is going to be fun. Hugely exciting World War III updates. Right? So if you were worried that Israel would not succeed in starting World War III, you can stop worrying because, boy, do I have some exciting news for you. Okay. Over the past 24 hours, Israel has managed to extend this war beyond everyone's wildest dreams. It all seemed to be going in the wrong direction when Macron stopped arms sales to Israel after only a year of genocide. The French president even had the gall to ask other countries to do the same. Who the hell does this guy think he is? Jeremy fucking Corbyn? Israel considers the arms suspensions a huge insult because it wants the genocide to go on much longer than a year. It has therefore sent a massive shipment of exploding vibrators to France. Zionists have such a brilliant sense of humor. All right. France is not the only country in Israel's sights. Ireland disgracefully refused to remove its peacekeepers from Lebanon because they're protecting civilians in the villages Israel wants to ethnically cleanse. Israel has understandably declared war on Ireland. Irish-American President...
Surprised it hasn't been done already.
Yeah,
if
right?
you haven't seen, there's a great video of an interview with a Lebanese guy who has worked with those peacekeepers for so long that his English is thickly Irish accented.
Nice.
And they have to constantly edit out F-bombs because he learned from the Irish. He's just dropping them left and right. It's the sweetest thing. Like, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, here we go. Irish-American President Joe Biden, funny, is yet to be told that he'll be bombing his ancestral homeland, but who would care about something like that? Ancestral homelands are so overrated.
Watch your profanity.
Right? Ancestral homelands so overrated, right, Israel? Right? Now, if you're one of the 12 British people still supporting Israel, you're probably feeling smug right now. The French are going to get it, the Irish are going to get it, but I'm afraid to tell you, we might be next. Let's be honest, it's only what we deserve after Starmer halted 8% of the arms licenses to Israel to pander to the woke mob. It hasn't escaped Netanyahu's attention that hundreds of thousands of Hamas members marched through London and Dublin today. Of course, every pro-Palestinian supporter is Hamas. This was particularly upsetting for Zionists because they're struggling to get anyone to support their cause apart from the politicians who receive their generous donations. Funny how that works. Understandably.
Where the fuck is Bono? Sorry.
He's under control by the CIA and MI6. But
he's in Ukraine. He's doing a gig in Ukraine right now.
Right?
Fucking piece of shit.
Understandably. But understandably, Netanyahu is disgusted that the British army didn't round up these protesters and strip them naked in public before disappearing them. He would have done the same. Starmer desperately tried explaining our human rights laws are getting in the way. To heal the diplomatic rift with Israel, Starmer has condemned the Lebanese fighters who were supposed to surrender to be taken to state haven for rape. Oh, God, that's terrible. Oh, even for parody. Yeah. You can't even make up snark like that. Lebanon does not have the right to defend itself from a ground invasion because that counts as terrorism. Anything that embarrasses Israel counts as terrorism, including lots of likes on Twitter. You have been warned.
What's really funny is my my last piece that we recorded and put out, my last Palestine piece, she retweeted and it immediately got deboosted after that. I was like, holy crap, she's got like 200 something thousand followers. This is huge. And all of a sudden it's like
Yeah, dude, she's mainstream BBC media who, unless the State Department tells Elon that she needs to be pushed, he's not pushing her.
It flew over the treetops for a minute, and that was enough to get shot down.
And you can see why. As you can see, Israel must be surrounded
with
by
an Iron
terrorists.
Dome missile, mainly.
Oh God, Israel must be surrounded. It must be surrounded by terrorists because it's constantly getting embarrassed. This means it has no choice but to start wars. The only problem with starting wars is that Israeli soldiers are only capable of sniping children and bragging about their war crimes on TikTok. Israel can't do armed combat, and no one seems to have explained to its neighbors that they have more drones and missiles than it does. This could get embarrassing, even more so. Israel's complaining it's under attack on 7 fronts just because it decided to bomb 7 countries at the same time. Right? How was Israel supposed to know that those countries would have the audacity to retaliate? Iraq just drone bombed an Israeli base in the Golan Heights, so I assume Israel's at war with Iraq now. No country would tolerate such someone bombing a military base on a land it illegally occupies.
Allegedly.
Well,
no, actually, according to international law.
Right, they do. Biden and Starmer Biden and Starr are so worried about the war spreading, they've decided to join in the fun and are bombing Yemen on Israel's behalf. This is due to Yemen's despicable attempts to stop a genocide, something we're legally obliged to do. Fuck up, pretend I never said that. Israel is currently wiping in towns in Lebanon off the map, not like North Carolina, but unnaturally, because that's much easier than facing soldiers man to man. The last thing Israel wants is a fair fight, clearly. Israel is still bombing the shit out of Gaza, even though Iran is the only country that's inflicted serious damage on it recently. An IDF spokesperson confirmed they're not attacking Iran because it's inflicted serious damage on Israel recently. Netanyahu is weighing up whether Biden will let him get away with nuking Tehran because that's his only viable option. If the answer is yes, as if it would be no.
Yeah, Trump said the same thing.
Right? As if it would be no. Netanyahu is keen to also nuke Paris and Dublin and maybe London if the marches don't stop. Starmer says he fully supports any decision Netanyahu makes as long as it's only a tactical nuke and he's given notice to evacuate his wardrobe first. Starmer is hopeful that if the marchers
bring me my brown pants.
So douchebag Starmer is hopeful that if the marchers can be wiped out, this might help in the polls, but his Tory base don't want any tactical nukes in their backyard. I'm sure Netanyahu can be persuaded to leave the Greenbelt out of this conflict, If we want to be spared, we might have to clean up our act, though. Zionists are mad that the BBC showed footage of Ayatollah Khomeini because the only religious nutjobs we're allowed to hear from are the ones in Israel. Showing us both sides means the BBC is biased against our preferred religious nutjobs. It's no exaggeration to say the gulf between Israel and the BBC is bigger than the gulf between Israel and Hamas. Oh, God.
Lol.
In a surprising turn of events, Netanyahu has found himself in agreement with Hamas leader Sinwar. Netanyahu has previously funneled $1 billion of Qatari money to Hamas to derail a two-state solution, as Reef and Colin have covered in detail on INN News. It's fair to say that both leaders are opposed to peace, but thankfully our government has sided with the good guy, the one who bombs ambulances and hospitals. Sinwar is such a lunatic, he says he has no incentive to negotiate with Israel because they're going to kill him anyway. It looks like constantly murdering political leaders is an effective negotiation strategy after all. Again, tongue planted firmly in cheek, Normal Island News. Interestingly, both Netanyahu and Sinwar are in agreement that regional war would be fantastic, just for different reasons. Netanyahu thinks he's getting his greater Israel, blissfully aware that escalation dominance lies with Iran. Sinwar can't wait for Iran to take the heat off Gaza and fuck up Israel with its hypersonic weapons. For both leaders, World War III can't seem to come soon enough. But one question, if Sinwar and Netanyahu both want the same thing, does that mean Netanyahu is now Hamas? If I've got you panicking, yes.
Hamas is
Netanyahu is now Hamas.
Hamas is within all of us.
That's right. If I've got you panicking,
it is everywhere all at once.
You'll believe that Israel is still making all the necessary war plans. It's drawn up a list of all schools and hospitals in the region and is checking that it has enough rockets to bomb them all. And Biden, of course, is so worried about escalation that he warned Netanyahu that he'll have no choice but to send him another $57 trillion in arms shipments. Right? Netanyahu says that won't be enough and is trying to rig the election in favor of Trump. Democrats are supporting Netanyahu anyway. Of course they are.
It's too accurate. It's too accurate.
This is parody, folks. This is parody. I swear this is parody. While Netanyahu is trying to do regime change in the U.S., Biden is trying to do regime change in Lebanon because he disagrees with the choice of the Lebanese people. I'm confused. I thought he was mad at Venezuela for not being democratic. Is he saying he's mad at Lebanon for being democratic? Just like he was mad at Pakistan for being democratic and Egypt? this is really confused. Presumably, we're all admitting that democracy is bad now.
Yep.
All that matters is that Israel has every right to commit genocide. After October 7th, which we are now hitting the 1 year anniversary of, fuck you, Israel. It started well before October 7th. Netanyahu reminded everyone that Palestinians are just like Amalekites, meaning that God must want genocide. If you don't support genocide, you're basically insulting the Bible. This is, of course, a hate crime. Germany certainly agrees.
Netanyahu?
Yes, Netanyahu. Germany certainly agrees because it's still racked with guilt over what the Nazis did during the Holocaust. But thankfully, Netanyahu offered to absolve Germany of guilt if it allows Palestine to be punished on Germany's behalf. Damn. Let's be honest.
Well, they first got to put C.J. Hopkins in jail, so
well, that's
they're a little busy.
That's our next story. Funny enough. We would all outsource our guilt if we'd committed one of the most horrific crimes in history, wouldn't we? Punishing someone else for your crimes is definitely the ethical thing to do. All that matters is Germany is on the side that starts a world war again. Why break the habit of a lifetime? And of course, stories like that, segments like that, don't get the shine in the algorithm for sure. So if you like seeing Normal Island News, definitely hook up Laura with a couple of pounds or a couple of bucks. She's on Ko-fi. Ko-fi.com/Normal Island News. But hey, there's Ko-fi.com/Indie News Network. So all the INN channels. Yes, I can only see Cuba Gooding Jr. like doing the dance, like in my head whenever I hear that sound. Right? I want to hear. I want to feel it. I want to feel it, Jerry. Right. So Cash App, Rumble, of course. Anna Maris is beautiful over on Rumble. She's donating with Rumble Rants over there, contributing PayPal. And all that money is going toward the Zago brothers. They're the cartoon illustrations. We had all the INN members done. Some of them have changed their profiles on Twitter. You can see. We'll debut some other ones another night. I have a ton more, but we're going to whip through CJ Hopkins. Yeah. Holy crap. Holy crap. Scandalous verdict.
You got a boogie before.
You guys are done?
Probably got to head out.
All right. Let's... Yeah, let me then switch to the countdown screen for a second, and we will do a technical difficulties. And, well, before we go, you guys can say goodnight. Hang on. Say goodnight.
Thanks for having us.
Tell us where to find Jesse.
Yeah.
Jess. Where do we find Jess? Where do we do? Are you on Twitter yet?
With Jesse.
Right.
Yes, but I couldn't even tell you what my handle is.
I'll have to find you.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah, I'll have to find you. I know you made one in 2020.
Yeah, it's
probably.
Mm-hmm. When Jesse first
wow.
check in and make sure he was doing
okay.
This little digital stalking is fine. He's used to it.
No, we're good. We're good. No, this was fun. I'm really glad you hung out tonight. Sorry I talk so much. I know I do a lot of talking.
It was great. I like it. Sometimes I listen from behind the screen.
I enjoy it.
See, Nancy likes it too.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm trying to be more,
better than anything else.
Engaged up front. So
I like it better than anything else.
Right.
Good for you.
Great. Well, yeah, we'll definitely be back.
All right. Yeah. Anytime, guys. Yeah. Seriously. I love you both.
You're going to be back for a boats one of these times.
Yeah, definitely. Well, maybe if we don't do it after midnight, we can do that one night.
Stop having jobs and kids and lives so that you can do stuff.
I'm trying.
All right?
Seriously.
More jobs.
Seriously. All right, everyone. I'm gonna turn off the mics and go to a screen for a second. We'll be back in a minute. Let me flip it over.
All right.
See ya.
Love y'all.
Nice. You're funny.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Turn mics off, weirdo. Yes, you are.
Hi, everybody. Now we're back. Hi. Wave Reef. Tell me you can hear. Tell them they can hear you. Hi, everybody. All right. That was fun, everybody. Wasn't that awesome? Jesse's back. Jesse was here. Jesse and Jess. That was a treat. All right. And we're almost at midnight, and we have like 2 stories left. This story and then quick hits. And then we can go to boats. All right. CJ Hopkins. Holy shit. So Aya Velasquez is a writer over on the Substacks. She was actually at the trial. She attended, and she tried to describe what it was like to be in the courtroom, first of all. I appreciated that. And then I'm going to bring CJ's article that he wrote. It's funny. I have that exact same tie that the lawyer's wearing. That's crazy. That's a Brooks Brothers tie, believe it or not. Anyway. So the fact that the Tiergarten District Court acquitted author CJ Hopkins in January was not something that the Berlin prosecutor's office was prepared to accept. They appealed and were proved right. Yeah, he got convicted. The appeal in the U.S., there's something called double jeopardy. If the prosecutors lose a case, they can't prosecute you.
Wait, I know what it is. It's where when you bet, you can like bet more, and then Alex Trebek gives you more money for the double jeopardy, right?
Right. They can't put you on trial for the same thing. That's double jeopardy. But apparently they can do that. They can appeal. The prosecution can appeal a case that they lose, putting you on trial effectively for the same thing with a higher court, which is crazy. So there's Christopher J. Hopkins. Very rare you even see his real name. But what Aya says is that I have already attended various court hearings, including criminal trials, but I have never experienced scenes like the one that took place yesterday, September 30th at 10:30 a.m. in front of the Berlin Court of Appeal. After the Berlin-based American author and satirist C.J. Hopkins was acquitted of the charge of disseminating unconstitutional symbols by the Tiergarten District Court in January, which we covered on the show, the Berlin public prosecutor's office appealed and won. The Court of Appeal found Hopkins guilty of disseminating propaganda material of an unconstitutional organization, the Nazis. The case will now be referred back to the district court, which will decide on the level of the sentence. Today's main appeal hearing took place under horrendous anti-terror conditions. All visitors had to hand in all their belongings. Anti-terror, though. No, it's crazy. All their belongings had to be handed in at the entrance to the court, excluding any liability. Okay, even journalists were denied the use of laptops. Freedom of the press was therefore definitely restricted on this day, which, again, we read a month ago when CJ set up, when they told him he was going to have to show up in court, what it was going to be like. The court staff was also tense and extremely irritable. Some of those waiting outside the courtroom were treated like small children. No surprise. However, as many people misunderstand, Hopkins wasn't even charged for the book cover itself. The latter is completely legal. The indictment only related to 2 posts, at the time still tweets, on the platform X, formerly Twitter. Reef will never call it X, in which Hopkins linked image excerpts of his book cover with a political message that sharply and pointedly criticized the Corona regime. Okay, he'd also pointed out the fact that even Karl Lauterbach had acknowledged the symbolic nature of the mask below are the 2 posts for which Hopkins was taken to court for the second time yesterday, and I'll show that in a little bit. If the Hopkins case shows one thing, it's in CJ's article, that's why. If the Hopkins case shows one thing, like a burning glass, it's this. There is no longer equality before the law in Germany. The rule of law has already eroded so irreversibly that it would be wrong to describe it as such without restriction. What Spiegel, Stern, or Jan Bormann are allowed to do, critics of the government have not been allowed to do for a long time. They're declared criminals for criticizing the policies of the German government. They find themselves in an unequal battle from the outset, which is almost impossible for them to win. While the resources of private individuals are limited, the state has almost infinite resources at its disposal, which is why you usually can't have that double jeopardy appeal. because the state can continue to prosecute you forever. Every acquittal can subsequently be contested by the public prosecutor's office with just a 3-liner. Money is irrelevant. It's practically infinite. It's our money, taxpayers' money. All right. Now here's CJ standing at his trial. This was courtesy of Epoch Times from his own article, Fear and Loathing in New Normal Germany. All right. And like Laura Kay, CJ plants his tongue firmly in cheek, but this is also pretty fucking serious. All right. The first rule of New Normal Germany is you do not compare New Normal Germany to Nazi Germany. If you do that, New Normal Germany will punish you. It will sick the federal criminal police on you. What is that noise, Reef? Reef?
I don't know.
You're frozen? What? Did we just lose Reef? Maybe. Ah! Did Hurricane Helene just take Reef away?
I don't know. Can you hear me at all?
I hear you. I don't see you. You sound like you're underwater.
Like all my monitors just blinked out.
Uh-oh.
I don't know. I'll work on it.
Oh, okay. Well,
we'll see.
Whew. All righty. So I think what I'll do is I'll flip Reef off. Flip him off! In the meantime, and when he gets it worked out, we'll bring him back. Where is my Reef box here? Come on. No. What wire's going on here? Where's monitor 1? There it is. All righty. Now, anyway, and we'll hear him when he comes back. I got the audio still on. The first rule, like I said, of new Nazi normal Germany. That's funny. No, the first rule of new normal Germany is you do not compare new normal Germany to Nazi Germany. If you do that, new normal Germany will punish you. It'll sick the federal criminal police on you. It'll report you to its domestic intelligence agency. It will ban your books. It will censor your tweets. It will prosecute you on fabricated hate crime charges. I know this because that's what's happened to me. This is CJ Hopkins. I broke the first rule of New Normal Germany. I compared New Normal Germany to Nazi Germany, and I did it with the cover artwork of my book. And like I said, this is the cover artwork of his book. So this is the very famous Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. And this is the Rise of the New Normal Reich, written by CJ Hopkins. Yes, that's a swastika on the cover. A swastika covered by a medical mask. I tweeted that artwork in 2022. The German authorities prosecuted me for that and convicted me for that. So now I'm a hate criminal, an anti-Semite, and a trivializer of the Holocaust. Yay! All right, again, 2 tweets. That's the second rule of New Normal Germany. You never, ever, ever display a swastika. Display a swastika, of course, is not in Ordnung. Displaying swastikas is totally verboten. Unless you're the health minister of New Normal Germany and you're comparing your political opponents to the Nazis, or unless you're a popular German celebrity and you're comparing the Russians and their supporters to the Nazis, or unless you're a mainstream magazine and you're comparing German populists to the Nazis. Yeah. In which case, displaying a swastika is fine, and it is not verboten and definitely not a hate crime. This makes sense, right? This totally, like, that's consistent. And that's the third rule of New Normal Germany. If you agree with the government, obey their orders, and parrot their propaganda, you're not a hate criminal. If you are the government, like an actual minister in the government, like the Minister of Health, for example, you're definitely not a hate criminal. And if you're part of government's propaganda apparatus, needless to say, you're also not a hate criminal. However, if you criticize the government, or if you compare the government to Nazi Germany, and if you do that using your book cover art featuring a swastika behind a COVID mask, that seems awfully specific, then you're absolutely officially a hate criminal and an anti-Semite and a trivializer of the Holocaust. Thanks, folks. Here's how Berlin's Superior Appellate Court explained in their press release after they overturned my acquittal in district court, quote, "The swastika, one of the main symbols of the banned National Socialist Workers' Party, is used here exclusively to express criticism of the federal government's corona policy. No, that is not allowed. A clear departure from the ideals of National Socialism cannot be seen in the posts in question." So he's supporting Nazi stuff by comparing Germany to the Nazi. Oh, the comparison of corona measures, which are supposed to be embodied by the use of mouth and nose coverings, with the Nazi terror regime symbolized by the swastika, represents a trivialization of National Socialism and the National Socialist genocide of millions of Jews, but not a criticism of it. Wait. They're saying he wasn't criticizing Germany. I remember when the presiding judge read that out in court. I remember it distinctly because the judge to her right, the bespectacled woman with the short white hair, see the photograph of the courtroom, was glaring at me with bone-chilling hatred. We got into a staring contest, which she eventually won because I couldn't take it for very long. After a minute or so, I started having flashbacks of scenes from The Pianist, Roman Polanski's film. I think it starred Adrian, whatever. He won the Academy Award for that. And the eyes of medical mask-wearing Germans when they saw the protest message I wrote on the mask that I was forced to wear in grocery stores in order to buy food during the rollout of the new normal in 2020 to 2022. That protest message read, "Belfell ist Belfell," which roughly translates as "orders are orders," and was the Nazis' infamous defense of Nuremberg. I was just following orders. If you've never been surrounded by mobs of medical mask-wearing Germans glaring at you with seething, utterly bone-chilling hatred, well, let me assure you, it's quite an experience. I experienced it daily for over 2 years. All right. I experienced it again in Das Kammergericht, where my acquittal back in January was summarily overturned at the insistence of the Berlin public prosecutor. Yes, they can do that in New Normal Germany. I'm going to spare you the procedural details and legal arguments and descriptions of the ham-fisted anti-terror style security protocols that the court ordered in effect for my trial. If you want to read that again, Aya Velasquez covered it in her recent extensive report, as well as Dr. Clivia von de Witz, a German judge and expert on the Nazi symbol ban statutes, covered the legal questions in this article before, this article after the trial. I haven't translated that second article, but here's an excerpt. Quote, "With this decision, German judiciary is once again moving away from the principles of liberal democracy," which we are not surprised, "which thrives on the exchange of conflicting beliefs and opinions, as well as criticism of government actions. If Der Spiegel and Stern are permitted to use swastikas on their magazine covers, the same freedom must apply to those who criticize the government. When, as here, the judiciary begins to apply double standards and condemns obvious criticism of the government via use of the Nazi symbols and conducts a trial under inappropriate anti-terror conditions, one has to ask oneself how far the judiciary in Germany has departed from fundamental democratic principles. The answer is pretty goddamn far. In response to the court's ruling that such posts are not covered by freedom of expression or freedom of art, what, if not that, is freedom of expression or freedom of art? An American married to a Jew can hardly be accused of trivializing National Socialism or of not expressing an explicit rejection of National Socialism. Okay. He's married to a Jewish woman. I'm guessing anti-Zionist, but I don't know. Or you can read Eugipius, another German, writing in English in the Daily Skeptic. Or Boris Reitschuster, another German, reporting in German, or the Epoch Times, or a bunch of places. Or if you'd prefer to hear from the enormous Goebbelsian keyboard instrument that is the majority of the mainstream German press, and you're able to read German, or you have a translator, you can read all about how seditious and insane I am in Der Tagesspiegel, the Tageszeitung, and the Legal Tribune Online, a legal journal. For some reason, I can't possibly fathom Der Spiegel were rather reserved in their coverage. I'm sure it had nothing to do with the fact that they had printed a big fat swastika on their cover. Right? It was rather surprising that the mainstream German press turned up to cover the proceedings, as they had been studiously ignoring the story before. Maybe the court's PR people contacted them, or maybe they just smelled blood in the water. In any event, the atmosphere in room 145A of Das Kammergericht was dripping with sanctimonious fascistic authority. It was clear from the outset that the three-judge panel were there to teach a COVID denier a lesson and remind the German public that what happens when you break the rules of New Normal Germany. The judges had clearly already decided to overturn my acquittal, so the rest was just theater, which, apart from my attorney's lengthy arguments and my statement to the court, mostly consisted of the judges radiating imperious contempt and seething hostility down at us from the bench like an enormous three-headed Gila monster. The prosecutor had mumbled 2 or 3 sentences in a monotone at the outset of the trial. He didn't bother to appear to present an actual legal argument. That would have ruined the fait accompli, scene, that effect that they were going for. I have to give the court and the prosecution credit for their dramaturgy. The point of staging a public trial like this, which the prosecution demanded, which is unusual at the appellate level, wasn't to pretend to be carrying out justice. It was a show of force, a demonstration, a public humiliation ritual. And all things considered, they staged it well. It's taken a few days, but I've mostly recovered. Now, he put a whole bunch of stuff in there about how he had gone out in public with the masks and a bunch of COVID stuff. Go check out this article. It's much longer than this even. But he says, it's taken a few days, but I mostly recovered. After consultations with my fearless attorney, I've decided to submit my case to the Supreme Court because, well, at this point, I kind of have to. If I don't, the precedent of the new normal German authorities are trying to establish will stand, and the right to freedom of expression in Germany will have become nothing but a sick fascist joke. And yes, that right is guaranteed under their constitution. It isn't quite the First Amendment, but it's good enough for Germany, and I'm not willing to let it be distorted and make a mockery of by a bunch of fascists, not without a fight. So if you want to help me fight that fight, which is going to cost about 12,000 euros in legal fees, that's on top of what he's already spent, plus whatever expenses I incur along the way, you can contribute to my rebooted legal defense fund. If you do, please note the disclaimer at the bottom. He says he extends his heartfelt gratitude to everyone who's already contributed. Your engagement and generosity has overwhelmed him once again. He didn't want this fight, but now it has to be fought. If it were just about him, it wouldn't matter that much, but it's not just about him, and it matters greatly. It's a fight that's being fought throughout the West, not just in Germany and the USA and the UK and Ireland and Australia, but everywhere people are fighting to defend constitutional rights and democratic principles, like small d. I don't know whether I'll win my fight, but I know we will win the bigger fight. As I said in my statement to the court, totalitarianism, fascism never wins. Not in the long run. History teaches us that. And it's history that will teach us all in the end. And again, reminder that CJ is a reader-supported writer and publication. So please, I actually picked up a $5 a month paid subscription recently, long overdue. I've been enjoying his stuff for a long time. He's Indie Media Award honoree for 2023 for journalism. So speaking of the Indie Media Awards, we're going to be doing them at the end of this month, Reef and I. Unfortunately, Reef has not come back yet. I do have some quick hits, so I'll be able to go through those. His computer, his internet likely crashed. I don't know what's going on. So quick hits. All right. These are funny. Some are not so funny, but this one, wow. So a lot of people heard of Kleiner Perkins. That was the law firm that the Obama administration, the Clintons, and the Bidens had used quite a bit. I read Sludge a lot. Sludge is a publication I subscribe to. I like their stuff. Donald Shaw at Donnie on Twitter. He published an article earlier this week that a corporate lobbying firm is advising the Harris transition. Much of a surprise to nobody, of course, that we've got corporate lobbying firms involved. But Covington and Burling is the new Pierce, Kleiner Perkins. And then there was another one. I can't think of the other one that's involved. But these are the big law firms that are involved with now the Harris campaign. So who else do they represent? Nobody important. The law firm that the Harris campaign has chosen to set up a possible transition team also works as a lobbyist for a wide range of American corporations and foreign clients to influence the federal government. They're just bringing it all right in-house. All right. The Harris for President campaign is working with Covington and Burling on setting up the transition, according to CNN. Wonderful outlet they are. Hope they crash and burn and go out of business today. The campaign previously hired Covington and Burling to help it vet possible vice presidential picks before landing on the selection of Tampon Tim, Governor of Minnesota Tim Walz. Okay. While it works on Harris transition preparations, Covington and Burling is also employed as a lobbyist for 38 other interests that include companies, trade associations, individuals, and nonprofits. No big deal, but the firm is representing Amazon as it defends itself against the FTC's lawsuit for allegedly engaging in illegal anti-competitive behavior. Yesterday, a U.S. district judge partially granted a motion to dismiss part of the case after Covington attorney Thomas Barnett helped write a motion for Amazon arguing in favor of the dismissal. In 2021, Amazon had employed Covington to help it argue that the FTC chair, Lena Khan, should be recused from antitrust investigations involving the company. Now, it turns out they did not do that, and she's been very good. She's one of the few people in the federal government that's actually done shit the whole company's accountable. But beyond Amazon, Covington and Burling is also representing TikTok as it fights the Biden administration. So now they're representing both sides. They're representing Amazon against the FTC, and they're representing the Biden or the Harris administration on a potential transition team. How the hell does it negotiate with itself? But there's more. Some more of Covington and Burling's lobbying clients, including Johnson & Johnson. COVID shots, anyone? The NFL? Antitrust stuff, anyone? Samsung Semiconductor? BP America? Bombardier Aerospace? And Dine Brands Global. Dine Brands owns Applebee's, IHOP, and other chains, and they're, of course, a member of the National Restaurant Association, which opposes Democratic-backed measures like the pro-union Protecting Right to Organize, the PRO Act, and a bill to raise the minimum wage to $17 per hour. So, again, they're representing both the union, the National Restaurant Association, and the administration that they're fighting against or trying to petition. I wonder how that's going to go. The Harris campaign has paid Covington and Burling more than $1.8 million for legal services so far this election cycle, including payments that were made when President Biden was the nominee. Nice. The Harris campaign declined to comment on the possible conflicts of interest. I love that. I absolutely love that. What are they going to say? So that's quick hit number one. Quick hit number two, and I forgot to play the around the world quick hits.
Who are these people?
Yeah. Who are these people? All right. Reese Thing is out, but he'll be back if he can come back and his internet's back. So this was an interesting story. I have not seen anybody talk about this. The Panama Canal is running out of water. Not good. The solution could displace thousands. What do they want to build? Another dam and reservoir so that they can have enough water so that if the canal drains up enough, if we don't increase water capacity in about a decade, we won't be able to provide water to the citizens. Oh, oops. So they'll have to do something. So they'll have to probably displace that community so they can continue to keep the canal going. With a future crisis seeming inevitable, the Canal Authority is turning to a long-contemplated solution, dam the neighboring Rio Indio to create a new reservoir which could be tapped to replenish the canal when the water levels drop, and dig a 5-mile-long tunnel to connect it to the canal. The idea effectively got the green light this summer when the Supreme Court struck down an old law and in doing so expanded the Canal Authority's jurisdiction to include the Rio Indio Basin. In total, this is why I brought this, the project would likely take 6 more years and $1.6 billion. But once the reservoir is built, both the locals and the canal will have all the water they need for another 50 years. And then they'll have to worry about it again. How nice. Filling the reservoir would submerge about 17.7 square miles of land, currently home to more than 2,000 Panamanians, according to La Estrella de Panama. Building the dam will require relocating schools, health centers, and churches that serve them. An additional 12,000 people, many of them farmers, live in the surrounding area. They will also need to be relocated and set up. Check that out in Grist. Again, all these links will be in the show notes after the show. You know, we talked about dock workers and that there might have been a strike last Sunday, and we proved out to be pretty damn smart. Because we said it would happen starting Tuesday night, which it did, and that it wouldn't last more than a couple of days because at $5 billion a day, somebody's making sure this shit gets done. And sure enough, it did. So what I say here is, and I've got my problems with World Socialist website, but no outlet fights harder for the workers against their union leadership, which of course has ulterior selfish motives, than World Socialist website. So everywhere, all we saw was that the longshoremen got $62 an hour and they're going back to work and the strike is over and woohoo, woohoo, everybody patting themselves on the back. All right? Except not so fast, my friend. Thank goodness for Tom Hall at World Socialist website. Again, got my problems with a lot of things they do, but they also do some outstanding stuff when it comes to holding union leadership accountable, like here. And I didn't go through the whole article. I just clipped a couple of key phrases and paragraphs. In shutting down the strike, the ILA officials announced a tentative agreement on wages only, but not a full contract. However, workers are being sent back under a 90-day extension to the existing contract, which expires on January 15th. So that means that it won't even take effect until January 15th. Whatever wage increase they got, we're under an extension of the old contract because we can't come to an agreement on the other terms beyond salary. And they're not giving you just the new salary for the 90 days. Crazy, right? The agreement on wages is rumored to be for a 61% increase over 6 years, but there's no agreement on other aspects, including job protection from automation. This was the biggest issue behind the strike in the first place. Yeah, wages were important. They wanted to protect their jobs. All right. Yes, Dr. Nick, the ILA did have a clause to still send weapons to Israel. They only wanted to impact commercial shipping, not military or cruise shipping. That's where it hurts the most, is the commercial. And I get it. And believe me, I would love to see them stand in solidarity with the pro-Palestine people and not send weaponry to Israel. But that wasn't their fight. And if they did that, they wouldn't have the backing of the government. The government would go in and shut them down immediately. The dock strike demonstrated the capacity of the working class to stop war. I don't get that. But they could if they refused to send it and reshape society in the interests of the broad majority of the population, not the wealthy few. The same profit interests driving the wars abroad are also behind the attacks on the working class in the form of automation, forced overtime, and wage stagnation. Thank you, Tom Hall. Now, the last thing that I had before I wanted to get to what to watch was about Rockfin. And I ended up writing another article today about it. But I wrote something the other day that said, hey, I'm just wondering on the 3rd, this was Friday, did anyone get paid out? You know, let's go back to this for 1 second. Taft-Hartley. So Scrugel, they would have used Taft-Hartley, but as the head of the longshoreman, Howard, whatever his name was, said so eloquently, yeah, you slap a Taft-Hartley on me, we'll go back to work for 90 days. We're required to by law, but right now we're moving 30 containers an hour. We'll slow it down to 8 containers an hour for the same money. See how that does you. Yeah, we'll go back to work, but not really. Good luck. Unbelievable. All right. Infiltrators also existed in the port strike. Of course they did. Infiltrators are everywhere. A lot of the people that are working in the media are working on behalf of union leadership, which isn't always looking out for the workers. But union leadership in this case did want what they wanted, and they held out. I think they should have stayed out until they got a full contract, but I get it. Look, $5 billion a day, that's a lot of scratch, and that's somebody wanted to make this happen. So again, any payouts by Rockfin yet? I spoke to all the creators that I know, and none of them has gotten a payout as of now. Still, nobody's gotten any rate tokens this month. I'm really worried about that as a platform. Look, I spent a lot of time. I think we went through the Rockfin articles that I wrote on the show recently, and I'm very disappointed with what they've done. Go check that out at indiemediatoday.com. All right. I also did pull to show that. So Roar Media, Amber said that she had not been paid out, her little nonprofit, and they had been relying on it. They're going to have to look for alternate. And I said that it seems to be, it's disappointing. And here were all the transactions that were happening. All right. 34,000 Ray tokens, 22,000, 35,000, 25,000. Who's making these kind of transactions? None of us. So maybe they were preparing to pay out. I have not heard of anybody getting paid out. Again, this was Friday or Saturday. Still nothing's happened. All right. And so I wrote this article today that not only that, but it looks like Martin, the CEO, has set up a new company based in Austin called Black Whale LLC. And if anyone's familiar with the symbol of Rockfin, it's a whale. So that worries me. All right. Again, we are no longer on Rockfin. There are different ways to contribute and to support INN and the show. We really appreciate if you do. Cash App is the easiest way, least amount of fees, and puts money into our bank accounts in a couple days. Then we've got Ko-fi, and the QR code up there will get you to Ko-fi, and you scan that with your phone. You can give us a couple bucks, $5 for a coffee. PayPal's the way to do it. Rumble rants like Anna was doing over there on Rumblaze. And so okay, I had, let me go to my single. Good. Hi everybody. Wow, this is a view you guys don't see much, but yeah, Reef internet must have really gone kaflooey and crashed out. But I did have some things I also wanted to show y'all. Some reminders, some recaps, check this out. So, anyone know who this guy is? Julian? Yeah, and Reef would have a funny sound bit from Trailer Park Boys where he talks about the Licky Leaks, the Dicky Leaks. Yes, the guy who started Dicky Leaks. Julian Assange, this is a Zago Brothers illustration. Won his case, or it was finally deemed this week that the detention and conviction of Julian Assange and their chilling effects on human rights, he was a political prisoner, which we all knew, but it's nice to have it actually like confirmed in writing by the Council of Europe. We actually covered this live at 2:30 in the morning Eastern time on Tuesday night. It was something to listen to Julian give a first prepared speech, then answer reporters' questions off the cuff for an hour. He got tired towards the end. You could see it. I was crying just seeing it, honestly. It brought me to tears. If you want the alternate view of it, the skeptical view of it, he looked like a hostage giving a speech with a gun to his head view of it, you can check out AM Wake Up's coverage of it on Wednesday morning. It might have even been T-Lev Tuesday, but I think it might have been T-Lev Tuesday morning on AM Wake Up. Ryan, Christian, Pasta, Jardula, and Steve broke it down, and they did a hell of a job kind of poking holes. The biggest thing, of course, to me that was the red flag was the Navalny stuff, to me, that was linked to talking about equating Ukraine and Israel, which was silly. I think that is a lot of Stella's influence. We know that she's been friendly with Mr. and Mrs. Navalny, or was friends with Mr. Navalny prior to his death. And I thought it was remarkable how gathered he was in his thoughts, how measured he was. He was confronted and asked about the torture he had suffered at Belmarsh, and he did not answer that question. I understand why. I would like to hear more, of course. You know, look, we get what we get, but at the same time, how controlled was that? And look, I'm just happy to see him start to make that road back. And hopefully he'll figure out the rest of it. That Ukraine is not our friend, and I think he knows that, but that Israel is not our friend, and I think he knows that. And that those two situations are completely not the same. That Israel is charged with the care of the people in Gaza versus Ukraine, which is attacking their own citizens. All right. I would equate the people of the Donbass with the people of Gaza, and what the Israeli government is doing to what the Zelensky government has done to the Donbass. I think that that's a fair comparison. That's not what Julian was trying to say. And I think that, you know, in time, he's going to read up and study up, and he's still recovering, and we understand that. Again, it was good to see him. It was good to hear his voice. It was good to see his mannerisms and his facial expressions. Anyway, so congratulations to Julian Assange, and thank you for everything you've done to sacrifice for us, all of the reports and all the risk and everything that you've done. And shout out to Zago for the beautiful illustration. Okay, you can also watch that on Consortium News. We did not put it on our YouTube channel. We ran it on Rumble, on Kick, on Twitch. You can watch the replay on Rumble if you ever want to see what Julian had to say. Yeah, that was the funniest moment. It actually kind of made me a little sad when Stella reached over and muted his mic. It just kind of, it didn't sit well with me. Everybody laughed. I didn't think it was funny, but I see things a little differently about that, and as does Anna and some others. So, speaking of Zago Brothers, support the Indie Media Awards. You see that banner up there? Thank you to Charlie Mack and John H. and everyone who hooked up on Friday night on the clip show to make that number grow. We also, again, got all the INN people done. So all of the existing outlets, all the existing members of the Indie Media Awards are part of this. All of their pictures are there, and you can go to each individual one and see that for them. John Pilger, may he rest in peace also even. So all of these, check them out. Beautiful artwork and illustration by the Zago brothers. Shout out to them. They're great. He's amazing to work with. I also wanted to, in asking people for support, just remind everyone that last month we streamed as a network 28 out of 30 days. The only 2 days we missed were the 16th and 17th, which is funny, in September. But we do need all of your support to keep this going. We got hit with a $250 Canva bill for the year. Our restream costs $700. Domain names and hosting. I keep getting hit by GoDaddy for Indie News Network, Indie News.network, Indie Media Today. Like, I've got 30 different domain names, and all those cost money to maintain. Plus, we do all the production, all the live streaming, thumbnails, editing, clipping, all the stuff you see. That doesn't even count the clips. All right. Certainly need all your support, but we're not the only ones. Fuck cancer. Our good friend Shanda, the only other co-host of this show prior to the Jets joining us earlier tonight. Thanks again to Jesse and Jess for joining us. But they played at Shanda's benefit show, which was tremendous, just a tremendous show. All right. They've now gone over $11,000. Thank goodness for everyone. Thank you to everyone who's donated and contributed. We gave what we could. It's been a rough couple of months. We've had some insane car bills show up and everything. I know everyone's strapped and it's tougher than ever. But if you can, please, I will drop the GoFundMe link here in the chat tonight. Always doing what we can to support our independent media sister, Shanda and Oz, Beauty and the Boomer. They were live Friday night. Saturday night. If you didn't check that out, by all means, please go check that show out. Great show. Of course, we have the INN newsletter. I'm now updating this every day. So every day, if you subscribe for free, you'll get an email giving you all of the live streams, premieres, and articles for that day. The Dissident published something today. You didn't even know. But if you got INN newsletter, you would know and you'd be able to link to it and read it. Unless you were subscribed to the Dissident, of course, you know that. But Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we still send out a weekly update as well, giving you a recap of all of the live streams and articles published throughout the week. All right, and that's all for the low price of $0. Absolutely free dollars. All right. But we are value for value here. We do rely on your financial support, and that's where we do so. So let me go back here. All right. And then I had three more tabs. Again, that's the Rockfin update. Not good. Not good at all. Not good. All right. This is a follow-up, and you can see this. I'll go through this probably. I'll be on Hardlands Media tomorrow morning, by the way, talking about this. And I will be on AM Wake Up on Tuesday morning to discuss this with Steve. Again, Indie Media Today. Not just the Indie Media Awards are on Substack, but this is my Substack. This is where you get all the clips for How Do We Miss That? You get live stream alerts with details on what's going to be in the rundown and in the show. You get original articles like the one I wrote tonight about Rockfin that you, for whatever reason, isn't even here. Oh, I know why, because I haven't refreshed it since I published it. There it is. So all the clips, the weekly update. Sometimes I share some INN stuff, but yeah, subscribe that. Again, low price of free $0. $0 for all of this. All right. Pretty good. Pretty good deal. Pretty good deal. Wait, what the?
Thank you very much. That's really nice. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right. And then finally, 2 more finalies. Thank you to everyone. We're so busy, we didn't even know we hit 5,000 followers on Twitter X. Yay! Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate all you.
Don't be rude.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I'm not going to be rude.
He is a sick puppy.
No, come on, man. That's not nice. But we did get to 5,000 subscribers, followers on the tweeters. Thank you so much to everyone who follows, share, support at Get Indie News on Twitter, x.com/@GetIndieNews. We're up to 5,008 already. Look at that. We got 5 more from when I clipped it. And then finally, we've got the calendar for this week. So already we've gotten through Saturday and Sunday. I don't know if there's going to be a boat. It does not look good, folks. Not good. Not good at all. But
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs.
Did you hear that? No, I didn't hear that. So tomorrow night we'll have the Maple Files at 8 with Snow Himbo and a mystery guest. Angel said he's always down to co-host. Shout out to Yeti, who has moved to Nova Scotia and is now set up and has finally got solar power set up. He's homesteading and living off the land, and he's going to show up in a couple weeks when he's got everything all set up and show us everything that they've already accomplished. Follow him on Twitter if you're not already. He's been great. Again, we got Politically Homeless has now moved. This is wrong. 6 p.m. Eastern, Monday, Tuesday and Thursday. All right. And then American Tradition is at 10. We should have a new show tonight for American Tradition. A Cynic, I don't know about boats. Reef's computer crashed out. He lost his everything, and he hasn't come back to Discord since. So I right now there's no boats until he says so. It's a little late at this point. I don't know if we're going to do it tonight. If anything, maybe we'll pop it tomorrow night after Maple Files at 10. That's a good question. I don't know. But we'll have INN News Wednesday night, assuming that there's no hurricane. Again, Reef may be in evacuation mode again this week. 6 o'clock, Tuesday and Thursday, Eastern. 7 o'clock, we've got Angel in the afternoon. And 10:30, we'll do another clip show. Or I may just run a replay of the live show on Friday night. I'm not sure which way that's going to work out. But all right, I'm pretty wiped out after that. That was a lot of stuff about North Carolina and about Hurricane Helene, and I really appreciate everyone who's hung out and stuck with us. I love you all. This is a lot of why I do this and keep doing this, even though there aren't that many that show up. We really care about the people that do, about covering this stuff the way that we do, and amplifying the independent creators that we love and that need our support, that don't get the kind of support and amplification from the algorithm from corporate media. So take care of each other. Take care of your streamers. Take care of the journalists and everyone that's giving you the information that helps you be educated. We need it. And so, wow, it feels weird without Reef, but he's going to say, keep listening to what little birds have to tell you. So I'll have to do his part, but I'm going to say support independent media because it's more important than ever. And we will see you next week again. I love you, fam. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.